At Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball. Tonight, the Mets play the Colorado Rockies. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Hyundai. The latest lineup of cars and SUVs you'll find at your local Hyundai dealer aren't just new, they're better. By M&T Bank, what's important to you is important at M&T Bank. Learn more at mtb.com/meetus. By Nissan, get a safe ride with sound savings during Nissan's Safety Today event. Shop ChooseNissan.com. By Raymore and Flanagan Furniture, furnishing your style. And by JetBlue, enjoy the most awarded customer service in the sky. And by ChevyOffers.com. Well, it only feels like winter in Denver today. Snowboarding might not be in order, but it's a little too cool for shooting the rapids too. How about a little zip line? All sorts of things. Skydiving right over Coors Field. Coming in for a landing. Paging Michael Sergio. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Denver. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play the middle game of their series against the Rockies. Mets were beaten 5-2 last night by John Gray and the Rockies, and really that's been a theme on this road trip. The Mets are 4-5, and their offense, which has been so reliant on the home run, has stumbled a little bit through these 9 games.
Well, you're right, Gary. That wasn't that long ago that it seemed like every time someone came up, they would come up with a big home run. Well, the home run has dried up, and you can see on this road trip, people are struggling. Other than Asdrubal Cabrera, Kevin Plawecki probably having the best chunk of games that he's had as a New York Met. Really, no offense to speak of.
And if you take out the pitcher's offensive numbers, which have been fairly spectacular, those numbers are even harder to take for the Mets offense. And so the pitchers have got to carry the load right now. And carrying the load tonight for the Mets is Logan Verrett, who comes back to the scene of his first and very successful Major League start.
Well, the versatile Verrett has been amazing. 34-plus innings as a starter, 34-plus innings as a reliever. But it was his signature start here in Colorado last season. Only Mets pitcher to ever go 8 innings. Terry Collins was talking about him today. What makes him so effective? He's unpredictable. Fastball counts, you'll get a breaking pitch. Breaking pitch counts, you will get a fastball. He's a very intelligent and smart pitcher.
He's been the Mets' Swiss Army knife. He's already thrown 2 starts of 6 scoreless innings this year. We saw John Gray last night. Another one of the young Rocky starters goes tonight. That's Eddie Butler, who took the spot in the rotation from the injured Jorge De La Rosa.
Eddie Butler last year was chased from the major leagues by the Mets, giving up 6 runs in 4 innings. He's pitched a little better this year. He's looking to double up on what John Gray did last night.
And he comes off 6 scoreless innings against the Giants in his last start in San Francisco. Mets and Rockies, all the action coming your way tonight right here on Pix 11. The Toyota Time sales event ends May 31st. Hurry in today. Toyota, let's go places. Get to Citi Field for Free Shirt Friday on May 20th when the Mets face off against the Brewers at 7:10. All fans in attendance will receive a T-shirt featuring the Mets pitching staff etched into Mount Rushmore, courtesy of Goya. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Fridays. Themes of the game brought to you by your local Hyundai dealer.
Well, Mets batters 10 straight strikeouts. They're going to try to stop going fishing today. Top of the mountain with Cespedes, most of the major leagues. Runners on base with 9 home runs. And, of course, Logan Ferrett, we've mentioned it, is going to try to channel that same success. Really the only success any Mets pitcher's ever had over 8 innings last year.
By the way, they ought to keep that water flowing tonight, otherwise it might freeze. It is cold in the Rockies tonight. Mets and Rockies, first pitch coming right up. It's 51 degrees at Coors Field. You know the feels like temperature? Probably more like 31.
I thought all the rugged individualists came out here.
You know, yesterday everybody was here in shorts, even though the temperature was in the 50s, but somehow the temperatures in the 50s feel a whole lot colder tonight with the wind blowing in at Coors Field. Check out the Mets starting lineup brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com, and it's the identical starting 8 to last night for Terry Collins, even though his offense has been struggling. Mets have scored just 8 runs in their last 4 games, and you saw it during the open tonight. All sorts of folks are struggling. Really, Asdrubal Cabrera is the only hot hitter in the Mets lineup right now, and they'll try and generate some offense here at Coors Field, where runs are supposed to flow like water, but they did not last night for the Mets. Eddie Butler taking the mound for his 3rd start of the season after being called up.
Well, just like last night, just a year earlier, a first-round pick of the Rockies. Eddie Butler taken out of Radford University. Last year he was 3-10 with a 5.90. In fact, was chased for the big leagues by the Mets, who hung 6 earned runs on him in 4 innings at Citi Field. Look at the defense is brought to you by your Honda dealer. They got 4 guys with gold gloves out there. Power's got 1. Blackman, Gonzalez has got another. Arenado, best in baseball. Trevor Story, LeMahieu's got a gold glove also. Mark Reynolds playing a lot of first base for these Rockies. And Tony Walters, who had a big hit in last night's game off Matt Harvey after the pitcher John Gray had gotten his first hit.
Nolan Arenado, winner of 3 gold gloves in his first 3 years in the major leagues, and he showed off all manner of defense last night.
He showed off, to tell you the truth. There's a couple times that he just reared back and showed his arm.
We had a great profile of Arenado today about how he was a catcher in high school. He was a pudgy kid. Yep. Most of the scouts didn't really think much of him, but hard work, good diet, and a switch of positions have told a story that really was unexpected.
Scouting report on Arenado, one of the things on him, they said bad body.
Right.
Stay away. Can you imagine?
But he, you know, and that's part of what they write in scouting reports. But he was able to overcome that, and kudos to him for that.
I mean, just a Gold Glove wizard. 3 already. It's fun watching him play.
Curtis Granderson will try and get things started for New York. That's a 4-5 on this road trip with games tonight and tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Nationals are playing a day-night doubleheader with Miami today. They won the day game and they trail 3-0 in the nightcap after 3. And tonight, Bryce Harper is taking his 1-game suspension.
So nice of him to take it when he feels like it.
Oh, that's what the rules state he can do.
What a joke.
Of course, the Mets and Nats get together Tuesday night at Citi Field. Eddie Butler's first pitch of the night is low and inside to Granderson, and we're underway.
Gary, I was thinking of taking a day off tomorrow. Is that all right with you?
As long as the union says so.
Okay.
Granderson homered against Butler last year at Citi Field, and he takes a fastball out of the strike zone, and it's 2-0.
You know, we saw John Gray change his game a little bit, especially with his breaking pitches. Eddie Butler is throwing his slider a lot more this year than he did last year.
And he's quickly behind on Granderson, 3-0. David Wright on deck, and then Michael Conforto in the opening inning. Butler's walked only 3 batters in 14 innings since coming back, but had a lot of problems with walks last year. There's his first strike. Last year, 79 innings for Colorado. He walked 42. Part of the reason he finished 3-10 with a 5.9 ERA in his rookie season. And Granderson grounds one to the right side. Mark Reynolds is there to field it, and that's the first out of the night.
Well, last night we saw John Gray. His mechanics were very tight. When we watch Eddie Butler, there's a little more movement, and one of the reasons that he has that great movement in his pitches is a lot of arms and legs coming at you. He'll throw a hard sinker, and he's got the good slider. When he's going well, he'll get a lot of ground balls.
Now David Wright. David was out early today working some extra batting practice, which is kind of a tenuous thing for David because with his back problem he's not supposed to overwork and take too many swings, but felt as though he needed the extra BP today, and he was out early with Kevin Long working on things.
Well, they did as much talking as David did hitting, and you know, I know it's only batting practice, but we would look up from our work every once in a while and hear the ball rumbling in the seats in left field.
David 0 for his last 14. And he fouls back a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. This was David at about 2:30 local time this afternoon.
See, Long's explaining that's really easy. He's trying to explain that he's getting underneath the ball, uppercuts.
Trying to get him to use a little more of his lower half as the slider misses from Butler 1-2. David's on-base percentage is good, but he has really had trouble making contact. 42 strikeouts already this year. Pops that one foul back.
You know, Gary, David might be the first guy I'd recommend this to. Mostly you want to become a good hitter first for average. Then the power comes as you become a good hitter for average. He might want to go the other way again. Become a good hitter for average, and then if the power comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Drive-in runs with base hits.
It's caught looking on a fastball on the inside, and Butler has his first strikeout.
That was a good pitch there by Butler. A lot of pitches away, and then he surprised him with that good, strong fastball that split the inside corner. Just surprised David and had something on it.
Carlos Torres, the home plate umpire, called it a strike, and it certainly appeared to be. David was not pleased with it. So David has now struck out 4 times in 5 at-bats in this series in a ballpark where he usually crushes the ball. Here's Michael Conforto, and he takes up and away for ball 1. Conforto 1 for 4 last night, had a triple in the 8th inning, but the Mets couldn't bring him around. Really, other than the pitchers, the Mets have not had many key hits. Even when they've been able to get base runners, they've not been able to drive people in.
You know, we watched in that Dodgers series, their left-handed hitters, because they were struggling at home, they concentrated on hitting the ball the other way.
Toward the middle and into center field, a base hit for Conforto. So Michael has the first hit of the night, a 2-out single.
Like all good hitters, Conforto in the last few days, he had 2 hits in Dodger Stadium in the 3rd game, and a hit last night, and here starts the day off with a hit. Good pitch, inside corner, muscled it to center field.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner, and now Yoenis Cespedes, who was 0 for 4 last night. Cespedes, who had a monstrous series here at Coors Field last year in his first trip ever to Denver. And like everybody in the lineup, he has cooled down, hitless in his last 8 at-bats. Butler misses below the knees, ball 1. Cespedes still second in the National League in home runs with 11, tied for first in RBIs with 31. The sun peeks through the clouds.
It's supposed to get warmer, Gary.
Like to 52?
Yeah.
And Butler falls behind 2-0. Cespedes sitting 5th in the National League in slugging percentage right now. How many people had Aledmys Diaz as the leading slugger in the National League on May 14th?
He's definitely got a plus-minus working over there in St. Louis, having a hard time catching the baseball. It's short.
3 errors last night. Cespedes drives one deep right field. Back goes Gonzalez, though, and he's there to make the catch. The ball hit hard by Cespedes, but Gonzalez in the right spot to snag it. Nissan Shop, ChooseNissan.com. Walt Weiss shuffling his 3, 4, and 5 hitters tonight. Gerardo Parra will hit cleanup for only the 2nd time in his career, and Carlos Gonzalez has been in a big power slump, dropped to number 5 in the order.
Well, Logan Ferret's numbers on the season are outstanding, but in his career as a reliever in 34 2/3 innings, his ERA is 3.38. As a starter, his ERA in 34 1/3 innings is 2.36. And defensively, brought to you by your Honda dealer, Conforto, Cespedes, and Granderson, Wright, Cabrera, Walker, and Duda, and Plawecki. Like Gary said, same bunch of guys.
Charlie Blackmon leads off for Colorado, 3 for 4 last night, and he takes a strike from Ferret. Well, it's got to be mixed feelings with which Logan takes the mound here tonight, right? Everybody, as a pitcher, comes into Coors Field with a little trepidation, and yet he, in his lone start here, had such success. Out to left center, and Conforto gives way to Cespedes, and that's the first down.
Well, you're right, Gary. I mean, he's one of the few pitchers in baseball, and I know it's a small sample because it's the smallest sample, but he's got great thoughts here and great memories, and also he comes from a different place. Every chance he gets a start is a blessing for him because he doesn't get that many.
Well, he got 2 starts earlier in the year, filling in for Jacob deGrom when Jake had the lat muscle and then the issue with his infant son, and now subbing for Steven Matz, who's sideline with a little flare in his elbow. Still no word on when Steven might pitch next. Probably we'll find out more after he sees the doctor on Monday. Here's Trevor Story, 2nd in the order, and he takes below the knees for ball 1. Story 2 for 3, a pair of doubles last night as he continues to etch his fable. Story with 11 home runs, 28 RBIs, also 51 strikeouts, which leads the league. And Verrett falls behind him 2-0. Who's hot in orange and blue, brought to you by Geico. And that would be Mr. Verrett. 12 scoreless innings as a starter this year. And you know how they come up with these odd accumulations of things that are the first time ever? Well, Verrett was the first pitcher to have 2 scoreless starts and 2 relief wins by the end of April. That had never been done before. But now it has. Here's the 2-1 to Story, and that's driven out to right field. Granderson back near the wall, and it's off the fence. Granderson plays the carom well, but Story slides into second with a 1-out double. So 4 at-bats in this series for Trevor Story in his 3rd 2-base hit.
Well, he's been on base now 4 of the 5 times, intentionally walked last night. But you know what's impressive? His coast-to-coast action. 2 doubles yesterday's ball game to the left side, and here off the wall in right. Good-looking hitter. He looks like Troy Tulowitzki in his setup and the way he swings.
Wouldn't be possible for one organization to nurture 2 shortstops like that, would it? There's Nolan Arenado, 1 for 4 last night, leads the National League in home runs with 13. Verrett has yet to give up a hit this year with a runner in scoring position. He'll certainly be tested here with Arenado and Parra coming up with a runner at second. Arenado hitting at .319, second in the league in slugging percentage. And a pickoff try, and it goes off the glove of Walker and into center field. And Story will make his way to third.
Well, I think that's going to be an error on Neal. He's got to catch this ball. I know he throws it across his bit. I mean, that's a play that you think your second baseman's got to make. Not a perfect throw by Verrett. Went into the runner a little bit, but I've been wrong with the official score just about every time the last 2 weeks.
And they just charged the error to Verrett.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mets play their infield back in the 1st inning with a runner at third and 1 out. 1-0 the count to Arenado. And that'll get the run home as David has to leave his feet. Throws out Arenado as Story comes home with the first run of the game. And it's 1-0 Colorado.
Well, he had 130 RBIs last year, and this is how you get him. 1, great play by David. But 2, they gave it to Arenado, and he hit himself a ground ball and got himself a ribby.
First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Well, if you have the infield in there, you know what happens. The ball goes through the hole.
Right.
And instead of 2 out and nobody on, you got a runner at first.
Early in the game, you should be fined if you play the infield in at this ballpark.
Yeah. So here's Gerardo Parra, the unlikely cleanup hitter. Second time in his career he's batted cleanup. Both have come this season. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Parra 1 for 3, a triple and a run batted in last night. The former Diamondback leads the National League in doubles with 14. So Verrett still is not allowed a base hit with a runner in scoring position. That's line to center in front of Cespedes. A 2-out hit for Parra.
Two fastballs in a row. The first one was good on the knees, second one up, and Parra took advantage of it.
That base hit by Parra will make the run against Verrett an earned run. 2 out and a runner at first, and Carlos Gonzalez will step in. So Gonzalez dropped to the 5-hole for the first time this year. He did it 6 times last year. He's gone 23 straight games without a home run, 16 straight games without an RBI, which seems almost impossible for a hitter of Cargo's caliber.
He's at 94 at bats. He's gone.
Last year, Gonzalez hit 40 home runs, drove in 97 runs.
One of those home runs was off Logan Verrett. The only mark against him in this start here.
in. Career numbers for Carlos Gonzalez. His batting average has been coming down in recent years, but the 40 home runs last year were a career high. Fouled away. The way the sun shines across the field here, the sun sets toward left field.
Yeah.
And later in the summer, that sun at this time in the evening will be right in the eyes of the first baseman.
Makes it difficult for especially a throw from third base to first, or the pitcher on the pickoff. You have to be careful. Not as bad now.
Yeah, you come here in July, and that's a big problem. Grounded right into the shift where Walker is playing on the outfield grass, and he throws out Gonzalez to end the inning. But the Rockies play to run and lead 1-0 after 1. Jake Arrieta keeps on rolling, 7-0 with a 1.29 ERA today after his 8-inning 11 strikeout performance against the Pirates. Steven Strasburg, first start after signing the contract. He's now 6-0 as the Nats beat the Marlins in the first game of their day-night doubleheader. Miami leads the nightcap 3-1 in the 5th. David Ortiz hit a home run, hit the game-tying triple in the bottom of the 9th, and the game-winning double in the bottom of the 11th. You sure he wants to retire?
First time in his career he's ever had a home run, double, and triple in the same game. Triple, of course, being the issue. And now the Cubs have won 21 straight times when Jake Arrieta has started.
Not counting the postseason. As Met fans will be very quick to remind you.
I'm coming your way. It takes time.
Lucas Duda 1 for 4 last night, just 4 hits in his last 27 at-bats. That's down a run as they bat here in the second against Eddie Butler, 25-year-old out of Radford University. And that's driven toward left center field away from Blackman, and that'll go all the way back to the wall. And Duda lumbers into second base with a leadoff double. So Duda on an 0-2 pitch, able to drive one the other way for his 5th double of the year.
Mistake by the young Butler, but nice job by Lucas going the other way. Remember, yesterday he had a base hit to left field. So maybe Lucas trying to make an adjustment as he's been struggling and use the entire field. It's amazing sometimes these hitters that are struggling, they get in an 0-2 count, cut down their swing, and just try to put the ball in play, and they end up with an extra base hit.
Well, in this ballpark, anytime you make contact, you have a chance for an extra base hit with all the space in the outfield. Here's Neil Walker, 1 for 3 last night, with Duda at second and nobody out, and they shift the infield to the right against Neil. And Butler works him away. See, that's the part I don't understand. If you're going to play him to pull, why would you start him out blown away?
Because Eddie Butler is a young pitcher who doesn't have control, so he doesn't have the ability to throw first pitch in or a little slow curveball for a strike. His strength is that down and away pitch.
And he keeps it away to Walker, and it's 2-0. There's Drupal Cabrera waiting on deck. Butler comes off 6 scoreless innings his last time out against the Giants, a 2-0 win, his first victory of the season. He took over in the rotation for the Rockies when Jorge De La Rosa went down with a groin injury. De La Rosa, the nominal ace of this Rockies staff.
Well, Butler made the team last season as the 5th starter, but things did not go well.
He got 16 starts last year, so he got a full trial. That's whacked the other way, a base hit for Walker. Duda will pull in at third and stop there against the strong arm of Parra. And the Mets have runners at the corners and nobody out. So they kept working Walker away, and so he took it away. Another opposite field hit.
Well, I like that thinking because, you know, we always talk about, you know, those situational at bats. How do you get the runner over? Well, if you're going to play him to pull like that and give him that entire hole and pitch him away, why not go that way?
So the Mets have the table set, 1st and 3rd and nobody out. And there's Drupal Cabrera coming up.
Just like Cleveland, Gary, Arenado playing back, giving Cabrera the bunt.
Right, he bunted for a run in Cleveland. No circumstance like that.
That was with 2 outs, though, so different circumstance.
He takes a slider for a strike. Cabrera 1 for 3 last night. He's really been the only Met who's been swinging the bat consistently well. Had a couple of hits against Kershaw night before last in a game where the Mets only had 3 hits all night. 1st and 3rd and nobody out. And Cabrera takes it wide, 1-1.
He and Plawecki. Plawecki's had his best trip of the year.
That's fair. Plawecki had the 2-run double last night that drove in the only Met runs. He's on deck. Three infielders on the right side for Cabrera. And the breaking ball popped up. And Story waiting for it to come down. That's the first out of the inning. So Cabrera unable to get the run in. Now 1 away, and Plawecki coming up.
You know, I didn't mention it in the open when you showed all those Mets hitters struggling, individuals. As a team with runners in scoring position, Gary, things are just not good.
Well, the Mets are dead last in the National League for the season with runners in scoring position, hitting .205 as a team. And now a chance for Plawecki, who had the 1 big hit for the Mets last night. Came up with 2 out and 2 on in the second and drove a ball to left center for a double that drove in 2. Duda at third, Walker at first, and 1 out, and Plawecki takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. And Butler runs one inside, 2-0. Logan Verrett, who picked up his first big league hit earlier this season in Philadelphia, waiting on deck. Right now it's a point of honor if you're a Mets pitcher. You got to join the hit parade. Plawecki goes after a 2-0 slider. Figuring he was going to get a fastball there, but that's one of the downsides of being the number 8 hitter, right? You're not necessarily going to get a fastball in that spot. As a team are only 42% this year getting a runner in from third with less than 2 out, which is far below league average. And Plawecki pounds one into the ground, 2-2.
Good pitching by Butler. Slider away on the 2-0 count, then pounded him in with that sinking fastball. That's really what he wants. He either wants Plawecki to hit a ball on the ground with a sinker in, or try to pull a slider away and hit it on the ground.
Recommendation for Kevin: don't hit it to the third baseman.
Yes. Back to the slider.
2-2 coming from Butler, and Plawecki lays off the slider, and it's a full count. So now, would you send Walker here to try to stay out of the double play?
The way things are going, absolutely. Plawecki's been swinging the bat well. Walker doesn't have a lot of speed, but you want to try to stay out of the double play to get this game tied.
Duda at third, Walker at first, and 1 out. Walker not running, and Plawecki grounds 1 to third. Off the glove of Arenado, and a run will score, and that ties the game. The last thing in the world you expected to happen. Nolan Arenado misplaying the backhand, and the Mets tie the game at 1.
Well, it's hard to explain that play because he makes so many acrobatic plays. The only thing I can think is that was he trying to think about turning 2 before he even caught the ball, because it would have been one of those amazing plays. Or even a step further with Lucas Duda on third going to the line, was he thinking of coming home?
Right. I think he might have been in between on that. They have scored that a base hit. What do you think about that? In between?
I would have given it a base hit. The ball was hit hard. It was hit down the line. It was not an easy hop.
So 3 hits in the inning now for Red up, and the Rockies look for the bunt with first and second and 1 out. Red 1 for 4 on the season with 1 sacrifice. So Plawecki, who drove in both runs last night, gets the first RBI for the Mets tonight. And Red lays off, takes a fastball strike.
Mets pitchers have been doing that a lot. They are prepared to bunt, and then the pitch comes in and they take it for a strike. The best pitch to bunt is the first one. Why? For the most part, you're going to get a fastball on that first pitch, so you're getting something straight. Now when the pitcher gets ahead of you, now he's thinking, well, possibly strikeout.
Walker at second, Plawecki at first. And Red offered at the slider out of the strike zone, and now it's 0-2. Curtis Granderson waiting on deck.
I think you have to have bunt for Red. You know, he's not like the other Mets pitchers who can swing the bat. You know,
you have to fear the double play here.
Yeah.
You want to get Granderson to the plate at minimum in this inning. Try and get the lead that way. But for Red's going to be allowed to swing, and he takes it high, 1-2. I think the pitch prior, Reynolds crashing so hard from first base, might have influenced that decision. Maybe now, after seeing him not crash,
the attempt, and I use that term loosely, at the second strike is what prompted him to let him swing.
He fouls it away. Well, the one thing about this kind of situation, you'd rather have the strikeout than the double play.
Base hit first.
Well,
but as we move backwards,
I'm saying the least bad results from this at bat. Maybe Logan will fool all of us and hit a 3-run homer. The way things have been going, I wouldn't be shocked. And Verrett goes down swinging on the slider, and that's the second out. Second strikeout for Butler. Now 2 out of 2 on, and Granderson will get a chance to get that lead run home. Curtis grounded out to first base to open the ball game.
Grandy's issue in watching him is that he's been just very vulnerable, like he was the first month of last year, just really swinging. It doesn't matter where the pitch is. He's swung at a lot of pitches off the strike zone, a lot of pitches in the dirt. Hasn't been able to zone in like he did at the latter part of last year.
And part of the consequence of that is that, unlike last year when he was struggling early, he's not drawing as many walks as he did. Last year, even when he wasn't hitting early, he was getting on base. And that hasn't been the case this year for Curtis, whose on-base percentage is now under 300.
So his is low. David's high, but
Curtis in the month of May just 7 for 49. That's a 143 clip since the calendar turn. Walker at second, Plawecki at first, and 2 out. And Curtis takes a letter high strike, 1-1.
You know, the toughest part when you're an older player is that every time you go through these battles, you know, the whispers are going to start. You know, because at some point, age catches up to you at some point. But Curtis doesn't seem as though his swing has slowed up at all. It just looks like, to me, he's not seeing the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand.
shows such equanimity no matter what is going on with his results. You always get the feeling that his next surge is only a day away. Fouls that one away, 2-2.
I played with Carney Lansford with the Oakland A's, and he always had a great way of looking at it. He said your demeanor should not change after a ball game if you went 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, as long as your team wins.
Butler about to throw his 25th pitch of the inning. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Granderson. And Curtis takes it wide, full count. So that'll get the runners in motion. Walker at second, Plawecki at first will be running.
Fastball away, just missed. We've seen a lot of sliders down and in to Curtis. 3-2. Let's see if Butler goes there.
Runners get set to take off. And Granderson fouls away the fastball. 94 from Butler. That's where he's topped out so far tonight.
Yeah, no, stayed with his strength.
Duda got the whole thing started with a double. He came home on Plawecki's infield hit. Now Granderson trying to make something of this 2 on 2 out situation. And a check at second, and Walker was only about a step off the bag. Story playing right behind him in the shift, so Walker can't get too big of a jump. Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Granderson. And Curtis check swing. Did he go? He went. Strike 3. So Butler with back-to-back strikeouts. He eludes further damage in the second. Mets get a run after Duda's leadoff double and tie the game at 1. He'd been missing the scenic shots of the Rocky Mountains early in tonight's broadcast, so we decided to catch up. No, this is not a beer ad, by the way.
Have you ever driven over the Rockies?
I have.
Yeah, unbelievable, right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And a little scary at times.
It is.
Mark Reynolds leads off in the home second against Logan Verrett in a 1-1 game. Reynolds 1 for 4 last night. Reynolds having a resurgent year with Colorado this year. Played for the Cardinals last year, hit .230. He's hitting 100 points higher. Without his usual power, at least so far. Ball to strike to Reynolds. TJ LeMahieu on deck, and then Tony Walters for the Rockies in the second against Logan Verrett, who gave up a run in the first after a 1-out double to Trevor Story. And an awkward cut and a breaking ball, 1-2. Rockies had lost 7 straight games here at Coors Field before they won the last game of their series with Arizona on Wednesday and then won again last night. They've always been a team that has thrived on winning games at Coors Field because they have always struggled so mightily on the road, although this year they've played better on the road.
What'd you say at the end of the game last year? That was their 1,000th win in Denver.
Right, going back to their first year in the National League in 1993.
Mile High. I remember when I was a young player in AA, you'd always hear about Mile High, and Ron Kittle used to hit all the home runs there.
For the Denver Zephyrs,
yes.
For the Denver Bears, they were both in the minor leagues. Well, last year Logan Verrett became the first Met pitcher ever to throw 8 innings, ever to even go beyond 7 at Coors Field. Now, the 2 years the Rockies played at Mile High, '94 was the second season. Brett Saberhagen went 8 innings for the Mets in a game at Mile High, but nobody had done it at Coors until Verrett last year. 1-2. This is inside. 2-2. Well, the Rockies' offense has been pretty stable home and road this year, which is unusual, but they're pitching dreadful at home and pretty good on the road. John Gray pointed them in the right direction last night, though.
Let me ask you a question about saves. Okay, we've had the great Bartolo Colon here now for 2+ seasons. Who have better control?
I can only tell you this. Brett Saberhagen in 1994 had more wins than walks. He won 14. He walked 13 the entire season.
That's amazing.
And he threw 95.
Yeah.
Hit the other way, and Reynolds has another hit. Granderson tracking it down. Reynolds takes the turn. He's going to try for 2, and he will make it safely. It's a really good at bat for Reynolds. He had some ugly cuts at some balls that he was able to foul off, and then finally dumps one into right for a double.
Well, I think that's why he's hitting 100 points higher, as you pointed out. Again, Plawecki wanted that pitch up, like last night with Harvey, and the ball ended up more in the center. But the reason he's hitting 100 points higher is he's going the other way with 2 strikes, and he takes advantage of Curtis's arms here with the double.
He looks like a different hitter.
He really does.
You would think that a veteran guy coming to Coors Field, especially with the power that Reynolds has, would be loading up and trying to hit home runs, and he's doing the opposite. Here's DJ LeMahieu, who was 2 for 4 with a double and a triple last night. So the Rockies have their 3rd hit against Verrett. LeMahieu backed away, ball 1. I'll tell you what Reynolds is doing, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because you're going to hit home runs by accident in this ballpark. That's it the other way, and LeMahieu's got a base hit. That'll chase home Reynolds to put the Rockies back in front. DJ LeMahieu with an RBI single, and it's 2-1 Colorado. Because in this ballpark there is so much space available in the outfield, all you've got to do is make contact, and you're going to get a ton of hits.
Well, that's a sinker down and in. Have you seen LeMahieu the last 2 nights? It almost seems like he's trying to hit everything to right field. Well, it's working so far.
So just like that, Colorado's back in front 2-1. Now the number 8 hitter Tony Walters, who had an RBI single in the game last night. Walters filling in for the injured Nick Hundley, who's out with an oblique injury. Runner goes, hit and run play. Plawecki's throw on the money, and LeMahieu is out at second base. 2-6 on the caught stealing for the first out of the inning.
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea. The only issue you have here is down in the lineup. You know, Walters had a big hit last night, but he hasn't hit for average yet. LeMahieu tried to sneak that foot in, but you see Cabrera blocking that base with his foot.
0-2 to Walters. I don't really understand playing hit and run in this ballpark, to be honest, because you can go first to third on a base hit almost every time in this park anyway.
Well, I think they think that Walters is at this point in his career such a weak hitter, you know, that they're just trying to move people around, give him a chance to pick himself up a base hit.
You're going to force him to make contact.
Well, the throw brings him right into the middle of the bag, so he almost kind of blocks the bag from LeMahieu.
So LeMahieu caught stealing for the 3rd time in 8 tries. See on the fronts of the uniforms, all the players tonight are wearing those play ball patches.
Right.
It's part of a Major League Baseball initiative. Get the kids more involved in the game.
Do you see Cabrera? He was fixing a little. It's a
garter.
Well, it's a garter, but it also, that is not only a garter. People that have had knee injuries before, it protects the bottom of your knee a little bit. It keeps it stable.
Walters slaps one toward the hole, and that'll get through for a base hit. Same place he had a base hit last night. So 3 straight hits against Verrett to start this 2nd inning, and that blown hit and run looks huge right now.
Oh, that's what Walters needed to do when LeMahieu stole. Cabrera wasn't as over as he was in last night's game against Harvey, but still, Walters sneaks it through.
So now the pitcher Butler up there to bunt. 0 for 3 with 2 sacrifices this year, and his bunt right along the line, and Duda could have let it roll foul but opted to pick it up, and so the sacrifice is successful. 2 out. So 2 out. Walters at 2nd, and now Charlie Blackmon will fly to center his first time up. Trying to stem the damage here in the 2nd after giving up a double to Reynolds and a base hit to LeMahieu to plate a run. Walters at 2nd and 2 out, and Blackmon takes a strike.
So folks at home, on that play, I know you're probably saying, well, why didn't Lucas let it go foul? If there were 2 strikes, you definitely let it go foul because you think your pitcher will be able to strike him out, keep Walters at first base. But if they give you an out, you take the out.
Leave it up to Verrett to get the next man out.
Yes. Your pitcher's got to pick you up now, or both Lucas and I look foolish.
2-1 to Blackmon, who started the night with a 10-game hitting streak. He's been raking since coming back from the disabled list a couple of weeks ago. He was out with turf toe. 3 hits last night. And Verrett runs the slider out on his hands and misses with it. And now it's 3-1.
Doing a little better job of laying off that slider. You saw in our open that was a pitch that these Rockies hitters were swinging at a lot last year.
Trevor Story would be next. Verrett behind, 3-1 on Blackmon, and it's yanked foul. Everybody's ducking out of the way. Eric Young, the first base coach, was ducking. The security guard was ducking.
Well, he's still quick, so you don't have to worry about that.
EY senior. So they're all ducking, and Charlie Blackmon with that beard looks like he's ready to go duck hunting. 3-2 from Verrett, and the curveball misses for ball 4. So it's a 2-out walk to Blackmon, and that'll get Trevor Story to the plate with 2 men on. First walk given up by Verrett, who is not particularly sharp here tonight. He's already given up 5 hits and a walk in the first inning and 2/3.
Well, there's not too much you can say if you're Danny Warthen other than just real positive stuff. Hey, I can see your stuff from the side. It looks good. You know, you don't need to walk anybody. Go after them, because walks just kill you here.
Part of the issue with Logan is he hasn't pitched in 9 days.
Yeah.
Terry Collins wanted to get him an inning in one of the last couple of games in Los Angeles just to give him a tune-up for this start, but didn't have the opportunity. So you can see why he might be a tad rusty tonight.
Oh, the life of the spot starter, right?
Exactly. Expected to sit around for 2 weeks and then go pitch at Coors Field, kid. So 2 out and 2 on. Trevor Story, the batter. Story hit a double off the fence in right center his first time up and scored a run. Slider off the plate for ball 1. Well, Trevor Story did things that nobody's ever done. 6 home runs in his first 4 games, 7 home runs in his first 6 games, 10 home runs in April, a National League record for a rookie. Out of Irving, Texas. Just 23 years old, first round pick in 2011. Ground ball toward the middle. Cabrera gets over, flips to Walker, and that retires the side. So Verrett limits the damage to 1 run in the second. Rockies up 2-1 going to the third. Well, they're not starved for football championships here in Denver. Of course, the Broncos parading through downtown Denver in February after their Super Bowl championship.
Well, the final 2 games, their defense played as great as any team could ever play. Brady first, Newton second, both down.
David Wright leads off in the third for New York. Mets down 2-1. Takes a slider for a strike. Davis struck out looking his first time up, trying to snap out of an 0 for 15 skid. And he fights one off and fouls it back. Terry Collins fielded questions today about David's spot in the batting order, and you know, David's on base percentage is high because he's drawn a lot of walks, but Terry said that certainly the strikeouts are a concern. They're not anticipating making a move anytime soon, in part because nobody else is really hot either.
It was a David Wright pig pile in the presser today. What I found interesting is a couple of writers were trying to go to a place that I found interesting. David's stature in the game, would that stop him from being moved from the second hole? No answer from Terry, of course, and rightfully so.
Well, the answer is of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't willy-nilly drop a guy like David Wright in the batting order without having given him every opportunity to right the ship.
But it was a lot easier to take when the Mets were hitting home runs and winning ball games, right?
Well, just put it this way. David Wright started the night with the highest on-base percentage on the team, which means why shouldn't he be in the 2-hole? However, you can also make the argument that on the days that David has been off, As Wright takes that one the other way, and right there is Gonzalez for the second for the first out. On the days David's been off and as Drupal Cabrera's hit in the second spot, that lineup's had a pretty good look.
Yeah. Well, really not a lot. See the toe tap, and really not a lot of push off or using of the lower half. But you know, on a pitch that's away from you like that, you are reaching. You're not going to use a lot of your lower half. You're just trying to make contact.
So one out now. Michael Conforto singled to center his first time up. And Michael drives one out to right center field, but Gonzalez is there, and that's the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. NYN Cespedes coming up. We check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Guys, as you talk about David Wright a little bit and what Kevin Long is trying to work with him on, what that batting session before the game today was about, it's about really turning his lower half, specifically his back leg, and getting his foot so that it's pointed directly at the mound. The reason this is so important, according to Kevin Long, is that the way he swings right now actually puts some pressure on his lower back. So if he does that, he should free up the lower back a little bit more and swing a little bit more free and easy. Again, at the end of the day, all of this is about making sure David's back feels good.
Well, you know what's interesting about David? Remember last season we watched occasionally we would see John Mayberry Jr. when he would swing the bat, his back foot would slip or go behind him, so he had no base. Watch David's back foot. We talk a lot about his front foot. You want to have a firm back foot. Watch when he makes contact. Where does the back foot go? It goes behind him and back. He doesn't go through the ball. That means you have an unsteady base.
That's toward a hole and a base hit for Cespedes. So Cespedes able to find the space between LeMahieu and Story stacked on the left side of the infield. And the Mets have a 2-out hit. Well, when you teach little leaguers to hit, what's the first thing you teach them? Right, the back foot, right? Squish the bug.
Squish the bug.
Right?
And that's with the front foot. But what you really want, Gary, is if you ask any hitter, you want to be in an athletic position. And an athletic position means that you have a firm bottom half from your waist down, so that that is used, you know, as much as you can use it in your swing. If you're going to have an all-arm swing, and we've seen guys who can do that, Albert Pujols and others, they're so strong from the waist up. But if you're trying to augment your power, you want to use your whole body. That only makes sense. Makes sense in pitching, makes sense in hitting.
Lucas Duda drove a double left center and scored the Mets run in the second. Cespedes at first and 2 out.
The one thing I've noticed about these Rockies pitchers from last year, now Gray pitched a little slower when guys on base, but Butler and he are working at a better pace than they did last season. That's got to be something that's been told to them.
Popped up along the left field line, a long run for Parra, and he'll get there. And he makes the catch to retire the side. 3 fly ball outs for Butler around a Cespedes single. Rockies lead 2-1 in the third. Did you know we were in the Rocky Mountains?
So beautiful. I'm telling you. Could you live here, Gary?
Could I live here?
Because you're like me. I mean, I never was a guy that got cold, and now I'm just freezing like every day. But I know you get cold a lot.
I am so waiting for 85 and humid. I can't tell you.
Everyone who lives here tells me it's a great place to live.
It's a beautiful place to live, and it's there's a lot to do and a lot of winter sports, summer sports. It's great for the outdoors types, of which I don't necessarily consider myself one.
Me either.
Logan Verrett looking for a clean inning after giving up a run in the first and a run in the second. Nolan Arenado drove in the first run with a ground out, and he drives that one into left field for a leadoff hit. So Verrett gets a slider up, and Arenado takes advantage for the 6th Colorado hit.
See him shaking his hand, so he didn't get that. He got that a little off the end of the bat, but so as we saw last night, just another line drive from Arenado. Boy, he attacks that high ball aggressively.
45 hits for Arenado already this year, top 6 in the league. Here's Gerardo Parra, who had a single to center field his first time up. So Verrett, who allowed just 4 hits in 8 innings in his start here last year, has given up 6 hits in 2 innings plus already tonight.
I mean, Harvey last night, 11 hits given up, 5 2/3.
Ronnie, what did you make of some of Matt's comments coming out of his start last night? He seemed in such despair about what's been going on.
You know, I've been there.
A drag bunt by Parra, and Duda trying to lead Verrett, but he's threw it behind him, and Parra's safe. That's a great play by Parra. A beautiful drag bunt.
Well, Parra does a lot of things well, and he can bunt for base hits. Great defender. He's got a little bit of pop, and he just brought it with him. And then the key then is just got to beat the pitcher over. It's such a difficult throw for the first baseman because he's got to be able to time it and throw it and lead the pitcher. This one was behind Verrett. If he led Verrett, there was a chance of making that play.
Especially with Parra leaving his feet, but becomes a moot point. So back-to-back base hits for the Rockies to start the 3rd.
Good angle by Verrett. Just the throw behind him.
So the table set for Carlos Gonzalez, who grounded out his first time up. Gonzalez, as we mentioned, 16 straight games without an RBI. First and second, nobody out. And he slices one out to left center, and Conforto is there. That's the first out, and the runners have to hold. So another fruitless at bat for Carlos Gonzalez with men on base.
I mean, this is textbook, folks, at home. If you want to learn how to bunt towards first base, he gets the angle. And see how he brings it with him? Bat head drops, but he wants to bring the ball with him, so he almost has a running start towards first base.
Now Mark Reynolds, who hit a double to right field and scored a run in the second. Let's get back to Harvey.
Sure. Well, I've been there, you know, where you're lost, and it's not a great feeling. You know, you feel like I know that today's pitcher talks more about mechanics. In those days, you just, you know, you feel bad because you feel like you're letting your team down, you know, and so after the games, probably the worst time to ask a pitcher how he feels, but the best time because you're going to get the most honesty and the most humility. I think Terry Collins' words were so right. You know, you're either been humbled in this game or you're about to be, and that is what has happened to Matt. Now, the physical part about it, of the speed changing. Some starts he's thrown 95 plus. Some starts were like last night where he hovered around 92. I can't explain that. I can explain it by him saying some days he feels good mechanically, some days he doesn't. So maybe that's part of it. But even deeper than that, in his brain right now, he doesn't feel that 6'5" Matt Harvey coming out and steamrolling the other team. He's searching, and you can see it.
3-0 to Reynolds, and he takes ball 4 and the bases are loaded. Let's go back to last night after the game. Hear what Matt Harvey had to say about another struggling start.
I've said all along, it's frustrating. I just don't, you know, from one start to the next, it doesn't feel the same at all. So for me, it's frustrating. It wasn't the ballpark or anything like that. It was me. My body feels fine. It's frustrating being out there right now.
And for a guy like Matt, who went instantly to the mountaintop upon his arrival to the big leagues and has now seen some of his teammates outstrip his success, it's got to be particularly difficult emotionally to deal with, you know, this kind of struggle. Here's LeMahieu with the bases loaded, and he takes a strike.
Well, I think, Gary, you know, I mean, your assumption could be is that you feel as though, not jealousy, but you feel like you're not holding your end of the bargain. You know, DeGrom is still getting his wings. Syndergaard is taking off big time. Matt's, when he's out there pitching, has been doing a great job too, especially with the wins. That is not as much as just being completely lost. You know, what happens for these pitchers is they go their entire childhood, college career, professional career, and then get to the major leagues, and they own people. They're the best. And then all of a sudden they come back to the field, and that's when you learn if the guy is going to be a wonderful pitcher in his first couple seasons or going to be a 10 or 15-year pro. Because these are the times that you have to bunker down and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to work harder than everyone else. I'm going to figure this thing out, and I'm going to do it through hard work. That's the only way it ever happens. It doesn't happen any other way. You can talk yourself into a slump.
One and two to LeMahieu with the bases loaded, and a good stop by Plawecki. That saved a run. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You know, Plawecki blocking the baseball has gotten better the more he's played. Doesn't that make sense, right? You sit on the bench for 3 games and you go out there and sometimes you don't do it, but his movement was before it was higher. Now it's lateral and lower, which means that ball doesn't skip through the 5-hole as much as it did before.
Bases loaded, 1 out. 2-2 pitch is off the plate, a slider. Now a full count to LeMahieu with the number 8 hitter Walters on deck.
I watched that game that Verrett pitched last year. He was very aggressive. He was ahead in the count, not throwing a lot of pitches. Just the opposite today, kind of nibbling, and you don't know whether it's the rest or pitching here.
Well, his 50th pitch of the night is going to be a huge one here. Bases loaded, 3-2 count, and he misses ball 4, and that forces in a run. Back-to-back walks issued by Verrett. Arenado comes in to score to make it 3-1 Colorado.
Well, you know, when you don't pitch a young person for a long time, and you throw him in here, and he's having the kind of start that he's having now, which is not Logan Verrett. You know, if he errors on any way, he's going to throw strikes. He's a strike thrower. I think you have to think about getting the bullpen up because, you know, you shouldn't expect that it's going to change real quick considering he hasn't been on the mound in a long time.
Parra now at third, Reynolds at second, LeMahieu at first, Walters the number 8 hitter up, and he takes up and away for ball 1.
You got 1 out, okay? As a pitcher, you got to tell yourself, okay, the bases are loaded. That's some tension. But I got Walters up, who's hitting under 200, and I got the pitcher up. I can get out of this inning with no further damage.
Alonso Robles getting up in the 3rd inning. It's the difficult circumstance the Mets are in with Matz sitting out but still active. Verrett taken out of the bullpen. He would normally be your long man to start. And Sean Gilmartin, having worked 3 innings in Los Angeles night before last, who would be your long man in place of Verrett, also not available probably until tomorrow. That gives the Mets very little work within that bullpen, and that's why Robles is up in the 3rd inning.
Well, Dan Warthen out there for 2 innings in a row. That's very rare that you see him out there. Mets had only a 1-2-3 inning twice last night. They both were from Robles in the 7th and 8th innings. So good at bats by the Rockies.
Fortunately for Robles, even though he worked 2 innings, only 17 pitches, so he's available to come back tonight, maybe give them 2 more if he has to. Meanwhile, Verrett's missed with 10 of his last 12 pitches out of the strike zone. And behind on Walters 2-0 with the bases full. And Walters takes a rip. It's a little shocking.
At ball 3, by the way.
Guy at 170.
You know, there's always tension for the pitcher with the bases loaded, but there's always impatience for the hitters with the bases loaded. They want to do something big.
That's what made Robin Ventura such a great bases loaded hitter. There was nobody more patient in baseball. There's a strike. 2-2.
So Walters swung the ball out of the strike zone and took a pitch down the middle.
Pitcher Butler on deck. Two coming, and Walters fouls it off.
You know, you always think about, we talked about it last night, a pitcher and how do they think pitching in this park. Well, you've got to think also, I'm one pitch away from getting out of this inning. I get Walters, I face the pitcher. I should get the pitcher out 99 times out of 100.
And Walters goes down swinging on the curve, or did he get a piece? Let's see. Home plate umpire Carlos Torres apparently said he made contact, or that. Well, let's see.
Well, what Plawecki is saying is that he was running out of the box. Carlos Torres, one of our younger umpires. Walters had given up and was leaving the box because he knows he had missed the baseball. He should really check with the second base umpire, see if he saw anything.
Well, Jerry Davis is the crew chief. He's the second base umpire, and he's coming into the discussion now.
There was no. I don't think there was a foul tip there. That ball bounced almost in front of the plate.
This is not a challengeable call.
It's not a challengeable call, but you can ask the umpire if he, the crew chief, he saw anything. Here's the breaking ball. Not even touched, not even close. And Terry, from the crowd reaction, must have been thrown out of this game.
Well, he should get thrown out of the game. That was a horrible call.
That's right. It might be the biggest call of the game.
I mean, on replay, it didn't look like Walters came within a foot of touching that ball.
I'm 200 feet away. I could tell he didn't touch that baseball. I mean, come on. It's a bad play. Bad call.
The rookie umpire throws out the veteran manager after the rookie umpire made a terrible call.
It never ceases to amaze me, by the way, that you throw a guy out after you've made the mistake, but there's the magic word. And once the magic word is said, you got to take a seat.
So Dick Scott, the bench coach, will take the lineup card. He and Dan Warthen will run the team. Meanwhile, it's still 2-2 on Walters, who should already have been struck out. Red bounces the curveball, and now it's another full count with the bases loaded. He's already walked LeMahieu with the bases loaded to force in one run.
I mean, the reason you could see it up here that he didn't hit it is because he was so far ahead of the ball. It was a bad swing and a bad call. You've got to hear two sounds if you're the umpire to make that call.
3-2 coming, and Walters with a late swing foul. One of the few fastballs that Verrett has thrown in this sequence. After throwing all that breaking stuff, Walters a little late.
Well, I think that Logan Gary has painted himself into a corner, so he really has to go after him and hope he gets a ground ball.
Ninth pitch of the at bat to Walters, and he hits one in the air to deep right center field. Cespedes back, way back, and it's over his head, hopping against the fence. Parra is in. Reynolds has scored. LeMahieu will stop at third. A two-run double for Tony Walters, and the Rockies now lead it 5-1. So Walters, the catcher and number 8 hitter who came into the series hitting 167, has killed the Mets 2 nights in a row.
Well, he got to a 3-2 count, got a fastball, and didn't miss it. One hopped off the wall by Cespedes. It's just so vast out there. There's no way to run one down. And with the new fence, it wasn't a ground rule double. But good swing by Walters there. Should have been struck out.
Yep, should have been in the dugout. Now the pitcher Butler comes up, second and third and one out. And he pushes a bunt, squeezes on, the tag made, and they had the runner hung up between third and home, and they allowed LeMahieu to get back. LeMahieu came halfway down the line. It was not a suicide squeeze, but he broke after contact, and he was hung out to dry, but Duda elected to tag the pitcher instead and lost the play on LeMahieu.
It was a it's not a good play there by Lucas. He comes in, it's a safety squeeze. So LeMahieu is reading this and he thinks of coming home. Just tag the runner and throw to third. Throw to third. That's as easy as it gets. The outs performed here. Now throw to third. Boom. Double play out of the inning. I don't know.
So the inning continues. Charlie Blackmon up, second and third and 2 out. And the curveball in for a strike. Well, this inning should be over anyway.
It should, but it should have been again. How about that? So 2 times. It's almost like Lucas was afraid of making a bad throw or something. I don't know. Had him dead to rights.
You don't think there's carryover on that, do you?
No. I think he was undecided because LeMahieu was so far down. If he threw it to third, LeMahieu might want to try to come home. But it wouldn't have mattered. He would have been in a rundown. He doesn't run that well. I mean, if you had like a Billy Hamilton, you might be a little afraid.
3 runs are home in the inning. 0-2 on Charlie Blackmon. And that's knocked down by Plawecki, and again he saves a run with a good block.
Well, this block here, watch him like thrust his chest out and just forward. I mean, that is the key, is that you thrust your chest forward and it limits the space between you and the ball bouncing. So it's almost like you get it on a short hop instead of the bigger hop.
Off the corner with a fastball. 2-2 to Blackmon. Blackmon, the 8th man up in the inning. Trevor Story would be next. All began with a base hit by Arenado. Parra dragged a bunt, and that set the table. Barrett has struggled to get through the inning. Breaking ball drilled into center field, and that'll bring in 2 more runs. LeMahieu and Walters both score on a base hit by Charlie Blackmon. The Rockies have scored 5 in the 3rd inning, and they lead 7-1. And it's all come crashing down on Logan Verrett at Coors Field tonight.
Well, we saw last night that Charlie Blackmon had a good cut against Jerry Blevins on a breaking ball. He's an awfully good breaking ball hitter. Gets one up in the zone, doesn't miss it.
Well, Dick Scott running the team after Terry Collins was ejected, not making a move to the bullpen here. Robles has stopped warming up, and I understand they are shorthanded in the bullpen, but Barrett really taking it on the chin here in the 3rd. 5 runs are home. Story the batter. Blackmon, who stole 43 bases last year, gets back.
Hey, listen, I'm so happy for the way that Sean Gilmartin pitched in that Bartolo Colon game. But when you come to Colorado, if a guy's pitched 3 innings, he's got to be sent back out and a new arm's got to be brought in. It's just, you can't do it.
And we asked that question last night before the series began, and we're told that there was never consideration given to doing that. So they came into the series knowing that Gilmartin probably wouldn't be able to pitch until Sunday. And the result here is that Barrett is being asked to take it on the chin, and that Robles, who normally pitches later in the game, has been throwing in the bullpen here in the 3rd.
I mean, the only thing I can think about is Barrett, what is the 4th or 5th hitter next inning? So you're hoping he can get you out of this inning.
The problem is, you know, normally you get to this point in the game and you say, well, you know, maybe we just need to let him, you know, absorb the punishment.
Okay.
You kind of forfeit the game. But you're at Coors Field.
Yeah,
you can come back in this game. But if you fall behind 10-1, well, then you probably can't. So you're really between a rock and a hard place managing your pitching in this ballpark.
Well, and if you were, if you had an everyday starter who hadn't thrown enough pitches, you might want to leave him out there just to work on a couple of things. But certainly not with Logan, who It's going to go back in your bullpen.
1-1 to Story. He fouls it away. Story, the ninth man up in the inning. Nolan Arenado, who started this whole mess, is on deck.
I mean, the one thing when you come to this ballpark, if you have an opportunity, you add a pitcher and go with less of a bench.
Which they did. The problem is that you already had, Matt's down, so you were really making a 1-for-1 switch in your bullpen. But then Gil Martin was used for 3 innings Thursday night, which took him out of the bullpen for this series, at least for last night and tonight. So you're 1 short instead of 1 up.
Well, this is what we've seen a lot, isn't it, Gary? Is that every organization has their own decision making. But for the Mets, many times they've had players that are not able to make their start, either in the field or pitching, and they kind of wait it out until the player maybe feels better. Well, that's a way of thinking about it. But you're playing shorthanded here, and that's, I think, a mistake.
One of the ironies of that is that sometimes the reason why they've played short is because their AAA team in Vegas is so far away.
Yeah,
they're here in Colorado,
right,
where the AAA team is, a short hop away.
Yeah.
So if they needed another arm, that wouldn't have been a problem at all. 1-2 coming, and Story fights that one off.
And the other part of this is if you push Brett too far, then you lose some of his ability to be used in the Washington series, at least in the first game.
Scott Denworth are trying to figure out how much further to go with Verrett. Hoping he can get Story out and make it a little easier call, but Verrett's about to throw his 35th pitch in this inning. 5 runs are home. Blackman at first and 2 out, and Story fouls off another fastball.
Well, they're all taking the same approach as right-handed hitters. They're just trying to hit the ball to right field. They consider that Verrett is a guy that's going to throw, I would say, 3/4 of pitches are going to be on the outside part.
Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Story. And the slider off the plate, 2-2.
That's a simple case of a team had 8 innings of video to watch on a young hitter, and they look a lot better at the plate than they did on August 23rd last year.
2-2 coming, and Story yanks one foul. And so Verrett's endless inning continues.
What's interesting to me about Story is that I had heard of him in the minor leagues, but mostly everyone discounted him because they didn't know what position he'd ever play, because Tulowitzki, of course, is going to be here forever until he wasn't.
Tulowitzki trade, they got Reyes back, and he made it clear he didn't want to be here. And now he probably won't be. 2-2 off the plate, and a full count to Story.
Well, Verrett has had the Rockies hitters with 2 strikes many times tonight, but they have 10 2-strike fouls tonight, so taking great at bats. Not a lot of swing and misses.
He's already thrown 38 pitches in this inning. This will be the 10th pitch of the at bat to Story as Blackman gets set to run. And Story shoots one through the hole for a base hit. Blackman will go first to third. The 5th hit of the inning, and that's going to be all for Logan Verrett. So a nightmare 3rd inning for Verrett. Just unable to seal the deal. 39 pitches thrown in the inning, and they finally pulled the ripcord. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Verrett out, Robles in. We'll be right back to Colorado. pressed into service at long relief tonight.
His numbers are good. What'd you say, Gary? 17 pitches last night. So in a perfect world, he would only get out of this inning and that would be it. But who knows here at Coors Field?
Yeah, the Mets going to have to patch together their bullpen to get through this game. Who knows? They could end up with a position player on the mound before it's over. Nolan Arenado at the plate, first and third and 2 out. 5 runs home in the inning. Arenado led off the inning with a base hit. And he takes a slider for a strike from Robles. So Verrett went 2 2/3, gave up 10 hits, 7 runs so far, 3 walks, no strikeouts. And he is responsible for the 2 runners on base, Blackman at third and Story at first. So a very different Coors Field experience for Logan Verrett tonight than last year. Little number down to first base, and Duda fumbles it, and he beats Arenado to the bag. Well, that was almost a complete embarrassment. But fortunately for Duda, Arenado had broken it down and was not running hard. Otherwise, that would have been another run. 7-1 Colorado. Moment anytime with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and a whole lot more. Download MLB.com at BAT, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Well, a 5-run inning that was exacerbated by a horrendous umpiring call puts the Mets in a 7-1 hole as we go to the 4th. Neil Walker leads off against Eddie Butler, who's now 6 runs to the good. Walker had a base hit to left field his first time up, and he takes outside for ball 1. Now keep in mind, Butler, other than a brief at bat, has been sitting in the dugout on a cold night for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and he's been prone to bits of bad control.
Walker fouls back the fastball, 1-1. As Dribble Cabrera on deck, and then Kevin Plawecki against Butler is looking for his 2nd straight win.
Radford University. The only other player I know from there is Ryan Spire. Remember, he was a player here in Colorado.
That's driven to deep right center. Back goes Gonzalez, takes a look, and it's out of here. A long home run off the bat of Neil Walker, his 10th of the year, and the Mets cut the lead to 7-2. The Mets' first home run in this series at Coors Field. And for Walker, who had 9 home runs in the month of April, his first in the month of May.
Boy, that's got to feel good. 1-1 hanging slider from Butler right in the middle of the plate. And he got all of that.
Hit it off the back wall of the bullpen. Well above the new barrier out there. Now Cabrera takes a strike. Good to see Neil Walker smiling. Came into the night 2 for his previous 29, and he's 2 for 2 tonight with a long home run.
You know, it's interesting. You know, we went through a phase there, especially in Citi Field, before we came out west, where, you know, there was a lot of zip in that dugout. And maybe it's the weather, but there's less of it now. And I understand it. You know, you're behind by a lot of runs. You haven't had a great road trip, but, you know, there was a lot of dancing and enjoying themselves, and team's a little down right now with the way they're playing. But that's a good start by Neil.
Two and 2 to Cabrera with Kevin Plawecki on deck.
Right on that toe is Cabrera, and it's closed also to keep that front side closed. One thing he does from both sides of the plate, right before pitcher's about to deliver or when he's ready, he has that hand right on his right shoulder, puts it on his right shoulder before he grips the bat.
Right into the shift. Story is there to throw him out. 6-3 from the right side. 1 out. Well, we thought that Sean Gilmartin wasn't going to be available tonight after throwing 3 innings night before last. Well, he's up in the bullpen now, so looks like the Mets will bat for Robles after he got 1 out and go to Gilmartin for length.
This is what happens when you're a young pitcher in the bullpen and the phone rings and they go, "Hey, Sean, can you give us some innings tonight?" You know what you say, Gary? Every single time?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, what choice do you have?
You have no choice.
I got a quiz for you.
Okay.
Before Neil Walker homered in this inning, who was the last Mets position player to hit a home run?
Oh.
It's this guy, Kevin Plawecki.
Oh, that's right.
In the 2nd inning Monday night in Los Angeles against Scott Kazmir. The only home runs the Mets had hit in the interim were the 2 by Noah Syndergaard. Plawecki drove in a run with a base hit off the glove of Arenado in the 2nd inning. And he breaks his bat, hits another one to Arenado. This one he scoops cleanly and makes the jump throw in time. 2 out.
Well, it can't feel too good for the hitters when you get it off the end of the bat, but Arenado makes that look pretty easy. He gets a lot on the throw when he throws it on the run, but that sawed it right in half.
So 2 out and nobody on, and now Alejandro De Aza will bat for Hansel Robles.
I think that's a wise move. You know, Robles pitched last night. I don't think you can push him in this kind of weather longer than that. You know, we were talking about the Gold Gloves. Well, in the infield with LeMahieu and Arenado, they were taught by the roving instructor who was then their manager now, Walt Weiss, who taught all these young guys how to field in the infield. He's one of the best.
That's it sharply. LeMahieu with a beautiful diving stop, and he throws out De Aza. So another Gold Glover, DJ LeMahieu, showing off his wares, taking a base hit away from De Aza. Mets get 1 run back on Walker's home run, but LeMahieu preventing more. 7-2 Colorado in the 4th. you save. For every run the Mets score against the Dodgers and Rockies, you'll save 1% on select tickets to the upcoming homestand May 17th through the 22nd. As of last night, the Mets have scored 12 runs, meaning fans will receive at least a 12% discount. For more information, visit Mets.com/runs. 2 more tonight. That's at least 14%. Rolling up the discounts.
Okay. Well, Sean Gilmartin, 92 pitches on Sunday last. Then on Thursday, he pitched 3 innings, gave up a hit, and struck out 3. 4 innings.
43 pitches.
43 pitches in 3 innings. Struck out 3 with 1 hit. And now being asked a couple of nights later to give the Mets some innings again.
Eduardo Parra, first man to face him. 2 for 2 already in this game. He had a drag bunt single in the big 3rd inning for the Rockies. Rockies had a run home to make it 3-1. 1 out. Bases loaded. Tony Walters swung and missed at a pitch in the dirt. It was called a foul tip by Carlos Torres. Would have been the 2nd out with the pitcher coming up. As Cabrera throws out Parra for the 1st out. Terry Collins got ejected after the call, and then 4 more runs came home. Here's the play.
Well, it changed the entire inning because you have a strikeout there of Walters, and then you face the pitcher and you can get out of the inning. Score was 3-1 at the time. Ended up 7-1 after the Walters hit. Just a bad call. I mean, he's a young umpire, and he's going to regret that one when he sees it on tape.
Here's Carlos Gonzalez, is 0 for 2. Here's what we don't know, because it's really shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah.
When an umpire makes a really bad call like that, one which is not subject to review and so it doesn't get overturned, what does he hear?
Well, I don't know that. You know, that you're right. That is shrouded in secrecy. But I do know the last couple of years they've made an umpire or a talking head available to the press to try to explain what happened. Usually those are saved, of course, for the postseason games.
And they're usually a pool reporter is allowed to go in the umpire's room after a game to ask about a call. Yeah. And usually the crew chief will be the spokesman for the group rather than having the young umpire facing the press.
Yeah, you have to be 100% sure if you make that call that's a foul ball.
And this time it is strike 3. Carlos Gonzalez out on strikes for the 2nd out. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Modell. Shop Modell Sporting Goods, your fan gear headquarters. Come on, Met fans, you got to go to Mo's.
The hard part of that call, Gary, is usually not the swing and miss. The hard part is when it's foul tipped and it hits the dirt before the glove.
Right.
That's when they go to other umpires and ask, did it hit the dirt? Did you see it? It's not usually the swing and miss because there's no sound on the swing and miss.
Mark Reynolds has doubled and walked. He's scored 2 runs. I guess my question is more about, you know, if a ball player makes enough mistakes, he loses his job. He gets sent to the minor leagues. What happens when an umpire makes too many mistakes? Does the same thing happen, or, because again, it's so shrouded in secrecy, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you'll hear about an umpire being fined. Usually, that's not for bad calls, but for being untoward in his actions toward a manager or player, exacerbating an argument, that kind of thing. The shift working perfectly there. Walker there to throw out Reynolds, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Sean Gilmartin. After 4 in Colorado, 7-2 Rockies. the bat. This can't feel good tonight.
So when you're at home, you little ones, and your dad or mom says, don't show anything if you hit the ball off the end of the bat. Even the big leaguers feel those bees in their hands. And the Mets locker room, the dugout, has a heater.
It's the one up on us. Curtis Granderson takes low and away as we start the 5th inning. Curtis is 0 for 2. He's grounded out and struck out, 1 for 6 in this series. So Eddie Butler 3 outs away from qualifying for a win with a 5-run lead, and Granderson hits one sharply, and LeMahieu makes another nice stop, and that's the first out. LeMahieu made a tremendous play against Eaza to end the 4th, and another difficult hop to retire Granderson.
Well, good anticipation, good hands, and a little luck there, right? You got to stick the leather out and hope it takes the true hop right there, and it did.
So one hard out against Butler in the 5th, and now David Wright, who's taken a call 3rd strike and fly to right.
Eddie Butler's got 5 outs in the air, 5 outs in the ground, and 3 strikeouts.
And Butler is working quickly, and you know that's appreciated by your defense on any night, but
yes.
particularly when they're shivering out there. The looper into shallow center, and that'll drop for a base hit. So David Wright snaps that 0 for 16 spell with a 1-out single.
Well, we talked about his lower half last time. Let's see first the swing. David almost off that front foot as that ball jammed him a little bit. And that, see how the foot went forward as opposed to back towards the dugout? That's much better, and a much better result.
So the Mets have their 7th hit against Butler, and now Conforto, who has one of those, singled to center back in the 1st. And he gets tied up on the breaking ball, but stopped the swing in time, 1-0.
Conforto starting to come out, folks. Last night, if you were watching, he just missed hitting one out, got it off the end. Same in his last at bat, starting to take those tough pitches that are off the plate. Let's see if he gets red hot again.
Well, April was a month to remember for Michael, but that 0 for 5 against Madison Bumgarner seemed to put him in a prolonged funk. Cespedes waiting on deck. It's only the 5th inning. Mets down by 5 in this ballpark. That does not feel like an insurmountable deficit. Butler behind 2-0, and Conforto takes a strike. Two one coming. And he tries to backdoor the slider and missed, and now it's 3-1. Butler. So many young pitchers in this spot. You see it all the time.
Yes.
Close to that 5 innings with a pretty sizable lead. All of a sudden it gets a little more difficult.
And now you would think he's got to throw his fastball here and challenge Conforto with the big lead.
And Michael tops one. LeMahieu with the glove flip. Story with the return in time. A beautifully executed double play. 4-6-3 to end the inning. LeMahieu has really showed off the gold tonight. The accurate glove flip, and Story did the rest.
Well, when you have a shift, it presents its challenges, and Story had to come up from up the middle and then staring David Wright down with the hard slide. Had to make a real hard throw and give up his body, and ended up on the ground over the head of David Wright.
DJ LeMahieu leads off in the home 5th inning.
Well, usually you can come from your shortstop position, catch the ball, and get out of the way of the runner. That was nothing you could do. Just had to give your body up if you wanted to make the play.
That's where being a bigger shortstop probably pays off.
And it was nice and fancy by LeMahieu, who can do a lot of things as a second baseman.
So David anticipating Story falling on top of him, but Story was able to be nimble enough to clear David.
Now Ozzie Smith in the day, he would have just jumped 8 feet in the air over you.
But Ozzie also wasn't playing behind second base. He was coming in the natural direction from shortstop to turn that play.
They were pretty good defensively even without the shifts.
Well, I'm just saying that they've made it so much harder for the middle infielders now because you're so used to coming in a certain direction to turn those plays.
You know, Gary, that's a really interesting point to bring up because you know, we still see a lot of these teams take traditional infield where everyone plays in their spot. We never see anyone trying to turn a double play like it was just turned, ever.
I mean, they work on it a little bit during spring training, but it's, you know, it's hard to replicate now those plays that you need to make. LeMahieu's already driven in 2 runs tonight with a single and a bases loaded walk, and he slaps that one foul.
You know what's good about Colorado, or lucky, is that they've got a Gold Glover at third, so they can play him in that shortstop position because he could probably turn one too because he's nimble enough. But that was just a play that it was up to LeMahieu and Story.
LeMahieu's approach is all about right field, isn't it?
All about right field, and these Rocky hitters have been about right field tonight. Again, off the left-hander Gil Martin, and their 2-strike fouling of pitches to stay in the at-bat has been excellent.
Gil Martin starting his 2nd inning of relief, worked a 1-2-3 4th. And he runs one inside to LeMahieu, 3-2. Tony Walters, the catcher, on deck, and then the pitcher's spot. Rockies scored a run in the 1st, a run in the 2nd, and 5 in the 3rd to knock out Logan Verrett. Eighth pitch of the at bat coming to LeMahieu. And the breaking ball bounced past Gil Martin, right on the charge. The backhand flip, and he's safe. Well, that may be the longest attempted backhand pass I've ever seen on a baseball field.
Well, David got, I guess, in a position where he didn't think he could throw one from the side.
And you know what? He almost threw him out.
And he almost did make the play. Option quarterback, David Wright.
But LeMahieu did beat it. So he's on base for the 3rd straight time with an infield single. And now it's Walters, who's already 2 for 2, a single and a double. He's driven in 2. And he takes a fastball for a strike. 11 hits now for Colorado tonight. They had 12 last night. This is Tony Walters pregame.
Oh, it's the yoga dude.
It's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. That's hard on the thighs there.
Oh, yeah.
On the quads.
So he's got the full stretch thing going on. There goes LeMahieu, grounded down to first. Duda's only play is at first. As LeMahieu moves to second, 1 away.
You Met fans, I have sent Nate, our stage manager, to go tell the guy behind the plate that you see in every shot to stop waving his hands. We should have that taken care of in the next inning or so.
Has that been annoying?
It's a little irritating for me. I can't take it. His two daughters have been doing it too, but they've been fighting the last 2 innings, so they're not doing it.
I didn't know you were keeping track.
Oh, they just left. Oh, that's hilarious. Way to go, Nate.
Maybe they got the message.
Very good.
There's Butler, is sacrificed and then bunted into an out on an attempted safety squeeze.
No, there he is. Well, they've been looking for Richard Simmons.
Cespedes makes the grab to retire Butler for the second out. Well, somebody text him and tell him to stop.
Well, I think what they're trying to do, right, is get on camera. So we're enabling.
We're feeding the beast.
Yeah, we're enabling. Oh.
In other news, the Braves shut out the Royals tonight 5-0, spoiling the return to starting pitching of Dylan G. His first start since last June.
And we used to always say that Dylan occasionally would have a rough 6th inning. It was the same for him tonight, right?
Royals game into the 6th, gave up 3, and that was it. But it was nice to see Dylan get the start for the Royals tonight. As a strike to Blackman. So number 35 started for the Mets,
yes.
and the former wearer of number 35 started for the Royals. It went better for Dylan than it did for Logan.
The Royals are looking for any kind of answer, aren't they?
It's been rough for the defending world champions. They're now 2 games under 500.
Maybe Pacoto will be right for once.
First time. Miami won the nightcap of their doubleheader with Washington 7-1, so they split the day-nighter. Charlie Blackmon capped the 5-run third with a 2-run single against Logan Verrett. And he takes a DI strike from Gilmar in 1 and 2.
You know, it's interesting. The Rockies had a choice this winter. A lot of teams wanted both Dickerson and Charlie Blackmon, but the Rockies didn't think they could give up Blackmon because he is their leadoff hitter, and you know, even though he's not a prototypical leadoff hitter, he's developed into a very good one.
Well, he gets on base, he hits for a high average, he steals bases.
He takes a lot of pitches. He deep in the count.
He was an all-star 2 years ago. Last year also hit 17 home runs, which not too shabby. 1-2 coming, and the curveball bounced foul.
Gilmartin's a cool customer, isn't he? From day one, making the team as a Rule 5 guy, and that presents some challenges on a ball club because, you know, you're on the team, and a lot of guys look at you sometimes when the team's not going well. You know, we're playing with one less guy because we have to have this guy on the team all year. Sure, Goodell from Philadelphia going through some of the same stuff.
Strike 3 call. Blackmon caught looking on a fastball on the outside, and he begs to differ with Carlos Torres. He's not the first. After 5, 7-2 Rockies. Mets got a run on a Kevin Plawecki infield hit and another on a Neil Walker home run. Not enough so far. Down 7-2 as we go to the 6th inning. Yoenis Cespedes will lead off against Eddie Butler. We got a big double play to end the 5th inning. In line for his 2nd straight win. Cespedes has hit the ball hard twice, lined out to right field and singled into center. And he whacks that one into right center for a base hit. And that'll go all the way back to the wall. Cespedes into second base. It's bobbled out there by Gonzalez, so Cespedes will continue on to third. Great base running by Cespedes. Was following the play all the way, never slowed down so that he could kick it into gear to go to third when Gonzalez booted it out on the warning track.
Well, it seems that any ball hit hard at this field splits the outfielders all the time. There was some indecision out there on who was going to take it. You got it. No, you take it. No, you got it. It ended up being Blackman who fumbled it away.
Right.
But Cespedes with the long strides, he's looking at the ball all the way, and once it's dropped, he turns it on. Like you said, Gary, good base running.
It'll be a double and air charge to Blackman. Excuse me, I said Gonzalez. And now it's Duda with a runner at third and nobody out. Infield back, of course, for the Rockies with a 5-run lead.
We were talking about before that back foot where it's turned towards the pitcher. And see that front foot also, but that back foot is turned right at the pitcher, so inertia is probably too strong a word, but all your energy is going straight through the pitcher on your swing.
Cespedes is so powerful. His 2nd hit tonight. He's hit the ball hard all 3 times up after not getting the ball out of the infield last night. Duda double to left center back in the 2nd, 1 for 2, and he strokes that one foul.
I think what you have to remind yourself, Gary, here is that you don't have to score 5 runs in this inning. You hope Gil Martin can hold them. You punch across one, couple in this inning, another one. Get to yourself within 2 or 3. Then you have something going.
Duda lines one the other way, a base hit. That'll bring in Cespedes. And now it's a 7-3 Colorado lead. So Duda's 2nd opposite field hit of the night. Drives in his 19th run of the year, and the Mets pecking away.
2nd opposite field hit for Duda tonight. 3rd in the series. The defense, Arenado, of course, playing in that kind of 5-6 hole, 5.5 hole. And that ball hit right through the shortstop position. Good swing there by Lucas.
Rockies have their bullpen going. The former Met Gonzalez Herman is up as the Mets are starting to hit it hard against Butler. There's Herman, the changeup artist. Walt Weiss is on his way out to the mound. This might be it for Butler right here. 87 pitches. He's gone 5 innings plus. And we'll see whether Weiss makes the move. You got Walker coming up and then Cabrera, 2 switch hitters.
Yeah, that's the right play. The ball's been stung 2 times by 2 batters.
And even the last batter in the 5th, Conforto, hit the ball hard as well. So Butler is out after 5 innings plus. Mets trying to fight their way back. 7-1 has become 7-3. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Sunset in the foothills of the Rockies. Beautiful placid lake. Mets upcoming schedule brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. There it is. One more game in Colorado tomorrow. Then the Mets go home to play 3 with the Nats, 3 with the Brewers, and then 3 more in DC after that. So 6 of the next 9 after tomorrow will be against Washington.
And the game's at 2 o'clock tomorrow, right, Gary? Gotta set my clock. Figure it out.
2 Mountain, 4 Eastern.
Okay.
Former Met Gonzalez Herman is in.
Known as Gonzalez German here. Gonzalez Herman to us because he pitched 25 games for the Mets in 2014.
Neil Walker's already 2 for 2 tonight, a single and a home run. Mets with a run in the 4th and a run here in the 6th. Gotten within range. Nobody out in the inning. Walker at the plate, Cabrera on deck. Herman's first fastball low and in for ball 1.
You know, because it happened so quickly, the double that was turned into 3 bases by Cespedes, and then of course the base hit by Duda. Herman did not throw a lot, Gary. Saw him get up, and literally 10-12 pitches in, Walt Weiss called for him. So a quick job by Herman getting ready.
Gonzalez now 28 years old, pitched for the Mets in 2013 and 2014, and he had some good stretches for the Mets. Terrific changeup.
He throws hard, but not hard enough to just throw his fastball, and he's always been troubled by being consistent with his slider.
Done well so far this year for the Rockies. This is high with the fastball through his first 10 outings. 10 in the 3rd innings, 5 hits, only 3 walks. So his whip is down at .77. That's good. Cabrera on deck. And Walker grounds one past the reach of Reynolds into right field, a base hit. Duda stutter steps around second. He'll go on to 3rd. And the Mets with 3 straight hits to start the 6th inning. Now 1st and 3rd and nobody out. And Neil Walker, fighting out of a slump, is now 3 for 3.
Well, Reynolds, who doesn't have a lot of range, did not get off the bag. Ball hits the hole, but the ball was hit right on the nose. And Lucas, once he realized if that just is missed by the first baseman, it's going to be the left of the right fielder. Easily, you could go 1st to 3rd.
So now Cabrera will try and cash it in. This dribble came up in the 2nd inning with a chance to do damage with 1st and 3rd, but popped up. He's got another 1st and 3rd opportunity here. That's down 7-3 in the 6th. Cabrera grounds one down to Reynolds, goes to 2nd, gets one there. The return throw in time for the double play as a run comes home. 3-6-3 double play. Duda scores to make it 7-4, but that short circuit's a bigger inning.
Well, that's a good play by Reynolds, wasn't it? Was not that easy. I mean, the ball to him is easy, but it took him a little bit to get out of his glove. Makes a strong throw, and we've really seen in this game what kind of arm Trevor Story has.
Not quite Tulowitzki, but not bad. So the Mets with 2 runs home in the inning. It's now 7-4. 2 out and nobody on for Plawecki, who's 1 for 2 tonight, and Kevin takes ball 1. So the book is closed on Eddie Butler. He went 5 innings plus, 4 runs, 9 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts, and a home run. 87 pitches for Butler, who's in line for the win.
Well, this is a bullpen game, and it's shaping up to be one of those Coors Lights games. I mean, Coors Field games.
Maybe more like Coors Heavy.
That's right. That's
Two 2-0 to Plawecki. And Kevin takes a rip of the changeup, and it's 2-1. Juan Lagares out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Plawecki keeps the inning going. Let's have Jim Henderson up in the bullpen. And now Herman behind on Plawecki, 3-1. there's ball 4, and Plawecki's on with the 2-out walk. That's the first walk given up by Rockies pitching tonight. So Plawecki at first with 2 out, and now Juan Lagares in to pinch hit. Remember, the Mets are going with a short bench these days, only a 4-man bench. So they've already used De Aza. Here, Lagares being used here in the 6th. That leaves only Eric Campbell and the backup catcher Rene Rivera. Dick Scott running the team after Terry Collins was ejected in the 3rd inning. And Lagares takes a slider for a strike. Lagares 1 for 5 as a pinch hitter this year, hitting .255 overall. Ball and a strike.
Our men keep trying to come inside on the right-handed hitters, but he can't throw a strike in there.
That's with 3 hits in the inning. First time they've done that in an inning since the 2nd inning on Tuesday night in Los Angeles. Bunching hits has not been something they've been doing lately. Lagares takes one the other way for a base hit. There's the 4th hit in the inning. Plawecki pulls in at 2nd, and now the Mets will get the tying run to the plate with Curtis Granderson coming up.
Well, Lagares is always at his best when he's using right field. Fastball away, went that way with a bullet.
So Jimenez faced 4 batters, giving up 2 hits and a walk. And now the Mets, who once trailed 7-1, get the tying run to bat with Curtis Granderson, who's 0 for 3 tonight. He was robbed of a hit his last time up by LeMahieu. Plawecki at 2nd, Lagares at 1st. Each team now with 11 hits. Curtis takes the fastball for a strike. Granderson 1 for 7 in this series, just 7 for 51 in the month of May.
Seen less changeups from her men here, haven't we, this inning? Mostly fastballs.
Three infielders on the right side against Curtis. Shortstop hole open. The inning began with Cespedes driving a double to right center. Mets have scored twice. And now the 0-1 to Granderson. And he pulls it on the ground, and LeMahieu has another difficult hop that he handles with no problem. And that retires the side. He's been doing that all night. Mets settle for 2 runs in the 6th to get closer. LeMahieu making sure it was no more. That's a Gold Glove there. 7-4 Colorado in the 6th. Serving the needs of New Yorkers for over 30 years. Wilmer Flores on the disabled list with a hamstring strain. Thought to be mild, shouldn't be more than the 15 days before Wilmer is ready to return.
Well, some relief outings are more important than others when you're behind, and this is an important inning for Henderson. Mets have gotten back into this game. They're hitting the ball great with 11 hits, the same as the Rockies have, but the bullpen's got to put up zeros the rest of the way if you're going to win this ball game or come back in it.
Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, Gerardo Parra, 2, 3, and 4 in the Colorado order for Henderson, who hasn't pitched since Monday night when he had that tremendous outing against the Dodgers. Bailed out Antonio Pistardo by striking out Puig and getting Thompson to pop up. Story already 2 for 3 tonight, and he takes a strike from Henderson.
I think the one thing we're seeing from, well, Terry's not in there anymore, but one thing you're seeing from the Mets and using Henderson is he's more of a 2 or 3 times a week guy.
I think the question about Henderson tonight will be if he's able to negotiate this 6th inning, can you give him a 2nd inning of work? Because that would certainly be helpful to this bullpen if he could go beyond 1 inning.
Quick inning, you need.
Yeah, and you got the tough part of the order, so that might not be the easiest task. Have already used Robles and Gilmartin, and remember they're a little shy in the bullpen after Verrett went only 2 2/3, and Story has to spin to get out of the way. 2 and 1. Well, Story has certainly been impressive so far in this series. 4 hits and 6 at bats, including 3 doubles. Nolan Arenado waiting on deck.
An intentional walk also. He's been on base all the time.
Rip of the fastball and fouled it back. 2 and 2. Robles got 1 out in the 3rd after Verrett couldn't finish. Gilmartin 2 more solid innings in relief. So Gilmartin's now made 2 outings in 3 days, worked 5 scoreless innings, and allowed just 2 base runners. Something else.
Yes, he is. Just like last year, that's all 4 pitches every time he comes in.
It's the stirrups, man. It's the 2-2, and Story takes on the outside corner, strike 3 call. Henderson dialing it up to 96 on the black to get Story for the first out.
Well, because he throws crossfire and across his body, the right-handed hitters, if he paints that outside corner, they have no chance on Henderson's fastball.
Here's Nolan Arenado. Let's check in with Steve.
Gary, you guys have spoken often about the brilliance of Nolan Arenado in this series defensively, and even though he did make a little bit of a misplay earlier in the game, he's widely regarded as the best third baseman in baseball right now. I'm speaking with Vinny Castillo, who's a special assistant to the Rockies, but he played over 1,650 games at third base in the major leagues. He took it a step further. He said that he thinks Nolan Arenado may just be the best third baseman of all time already, and he said that includes Brooks Robinson. What sets him apart, according to Castillo, is the work ethic, the desire to continue to improve despite already winning 3 Gold Gloves. You guys spoke about that work ethic a little bit yesterday on the broadcast, how he comes out before every game, takes extra ground balls, not just the normal grounders, but working on the more difficult plays. And as Castillo said, he's seen plenty of guys who reach a level, a Gold Glove level, and they put it into cruise mode. This guy seems to want to get better each and every day.
Well, since we're not in Baltimore, maybe we can get away with the Brooks Robinson reference. I'm not sure of that. But I will say it's fun to watch him play. He's very athletic at third base, and he can do a lot of things. He's one of the top 5 players in the game in my estimation.
See, that's the thing. I mean, he came up with the defense, but his offense has caught up to his defense. I mean, he led the league in home runs and RBIs last year in addition to all of his defensive exploits. That's drilled to center field, but Cespedes right there waiting for it, and that's the 2nd out. I mean, there have been a number of outstanding defensive third basemen who haven't had the offensive skills. You know, Brooks Robinson was a good offensive player, but he wasn't, he wasn't Mike Schmidt, who was the greatest offensive third baseman of all time. But you think of guys like Clete Boyer and people of that ilk. There have been great third basemen, but guys who are that good defensively who can also put up the offensive numbers, that's special.
It's rare.
There's Gerardo Parra, who's 2 for 3. That bullpen has been sparkling so far. That's top toward first. That's a fair ball. And that's a 1-2-3 inning for Jim Henderson. A 10-pitch inning for Henderson. Maybe he can go 2. That's down 7-4. Cameramen could only shoot scenics, from the Rockies, the mountains. Here's a building. It's the state capitol.
On a flat ground.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. Hurry into your local Tri-Honda dealer for great savings on the 2016 models. Mets were down 7-1 in this game. They fought back to 7-4. They'll have David Wright leading off in the 7th against Gonzalez Herman, and a conversation necessary before a pitch is thrown. That's a new world's record. Now, how do you explain that, Ronnie?
I can't explain
There's
it.
nobody on base, so there's not a question of the signs. What in the world could Walters have had to go out there for?
It's an embarrassment for the game, really. No. I honestly don't know.
So you're saying that never happened to you?
Maybe it has, and I probably was as irritated as I am now.
Well, it worked because Gonzalez Herman throws a fastball for a strike. David's 1 for 3, snapped an 0 for 16 stretch with a single to center in the 5th inning. Rockies have turned double plays each of the last 2 innings, which have certainly helped them stave off this Mets comeback. Ball and a strike to right with Conforto and Cespedes to follow after the Mets scored twice in the 6th. Addison Reed is up in the Mets bullpen. Their men came on after back-to-back hits to start the 6th at a rocky 6th inning. That's pulled over the bag but foul, and it's 1-2.
So does that tell you that Addison Reed up, that Henderson's not going another inning?
I guess that's what
right?
it says.
You wouldn't have someone up in this kind of weather if you weren't going to bring him in. Although Addison Reed, another guy with the no sleeves.
Well, he's not throwing hard. I think he may be waiting for an out or two before he really gets lathered, but see what Dick Scott and Dan Worthington have in mind in Terry Collins' absence. David trying to shoot one to right field, but he fouls it back.
Let me ask you a question. Dick Scott's the manager now, right? Terry Collins been thrown out of the game. Who's his bench coach?
Himself.
So he does it all himself now.
Well, Dan will consult him on pitching.
So Dan takes the pitching, which Dan always does anyway with Terry, and Dick's got the whole deal. So that elevates something. Bring Tough up. Make Tough do some bench coaching.
Well, Tough's on the field. He's got other
I'm talking about
to do.
in between innings. So bench coach half the time.
Well, somebody's warm.
Tough's going to bench press like 380 after the game.
2-2, and it's up and away and a full count to right. Say, how about the Philadelphia Phillies? Another 1-run win tonight. Aaron Nola, 7 innings, 5 hits, 9 strikeouts for the win. They beat the Reds 4-3. If the Mets don't win this game, the Phillies would move ahead of the Mets into second place in the National League East.
Excuse me? Can you say that again?
Wrap your brain around that. The Phillies are 22-15. David lines one in left center field. That's down for a base hit. Parra gets over and cuts it off. Wright's going to try for 2. Parra's got a good arm. The throw coming in, and he is safe. David took a chance, and it pays off in a leadoff double.
Boy, that was close. You don't want it to be that close when you're down 3 runs. Good hustle by David. But LeMahieu's tag, I think, was a little high because it got there about the same time. Parra, of course, we talked about his arm, although he took a little extra step to get rid of it. But watch the tag. David's foot just got in there. Good call. Watch his right foot. Now the tag will come, but I think it's high by the time it gets to the, it doesn't get to scrape across the top of his foot until too late.
Well, the Rockies are challenging the call, which I didn't think that they would, but Walt Weiss asking for a review. And so Jerry Davis has the headset on, and we'll wait and see.
I mean, he was called safe. There's, to me, no chance you could change it. Here's another angle.
Well, his foot's on the bag before the tag. The only way that they would change is if his foot came off, which it didn't.
Which it didn't. He stayed right on the bag. But I'm just saying he was called safe. So to have evidence that would show that they would change it, of course.
Good for the folks in Chelsea. It didn't take them very long to confirm that call. So the Rockies have used their challenge and lost. So David Wright has his second hit of the night. The Mets have their 12th. And now Michael Conforto will come to bat. By the way, we mentioned the Phillies 1-run win. Phillies are now 14-3 in 1-run games. 14 1-run wins in the middle of May. That's crazy. But their pitching has been really solid, and Odubel Herrera in that leadoff spot has been golden. Here's Conforto, 1 for 3 on the night. And he slices one down the left field line, foul. Met fan got the ball.
I'm just beleaguered by watching Herman pitch. His best pitch always was his changeup, and he must just feel like he has a good fastball tonight, but the results are not showing that.
Walt Weiss got Boone Logan up in the bullpen when the inning began, but opted not to go to him against Conforto, probably saving him for Duda. So Herman in to face Conforto, and likely Cespedes as well. And Conforto goes after the high fastball and misses 0-2.
It's the first pitch in a couple of days that I've seen Conforto go out of the strike zone.
Right at second and nobody out. Cespedes waiting on deck. 0-2 to Conforto. And Michael hits this one out to left. Parra's right there. And that's the first out of the inning. Wright holds at second. See Parra. Calm down, everybody. I got it in hand. Here's Cespedes. Cespedes has hit the ball hard all night. He's 2 for 3, and the only time he was retired, he had a bullet to left to right that Gonzalez caught. Since then, single to center and double to right center. He scored a run. So Cespedes getting in that Coors Field mode.
Yeah, he's about ready to pop one.
He had 3 home runs in a game here last year. Duda on deck. This is probably Herman's last batter. Right at second and 1 out. Mets down 7-4 in the 7th. And Cespedes taking all the way, ball 1. Logan pitched a complete game in the bullpen yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
And he's been up plenty already tonight. The well-traveled left-hander should be on to face Duda. Three infielders on the left side against Cespedes. And he rockets one to deep left field. Parra, though, may have room over toward the line, and he makes the catch. Thought Cespedes got more of that than he did. And Parra able to make the play for the second out.
Boy, the violence of the swing. And with the pitch coming in, it looked like he got all of it. And the reaction for Cespedes, he knew right away that he got it off the end. I mean, that's an inch away from a 500-footer.
So that'll be all for Herman. After Cespedes comes up short. And now Boone Logan will come in for the Rockies. Called to the bullpen, brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. We'll be right back to Denver. Yoenis Cespedes ruining what might have been on that last big swing.
He knows he got it and he missed it. Well, Boone Logan has been real good for this Rockies team this year. They signed him to a 3-year contract after the 2013 season, so this is the last year of that. Had some good years in New York.
Started out with the White Sox, pitched for the Braves. Comes in to face Lucas Duda with a runner at second and 2 out. And Lucas takes a fastball low and in for ball 1. Lucas having a good night. 2 for 3, 2 opposite field hits, a single and a double. He's driven in 1, he's scored 2. That's of a dozen hits, but they're still down by 3 runs as they bat in the 7th. Leadoff double from right, but their men got Conforto and Cespedes on fly balls. Duda 0 for 4 in his career against Logan. He takes a slider out of the strike zone, 2-0. The switch hitting Neil Walker, who's already 3 for 3 tonight, is on deck. Logan's always been a guy who can be prone to the walk. And he goes after a 2-0 slider, does Duda, and it's 2-1.
Well, it was ball 3, but you know, with one swing of the bat, Duda can get you back in the game, but that's part of the reasons he's struggling against lefties. Strike identification.
Oh, he's just guessing there.
Yeah.
Justin Miller, the right-hander, up in the Rockies bullpen now. And Duda goes after another slider, and it's 2-2. The numbers are not pretty for Lucas against lefties so far this year. Complete turnaround from last year when he really had a terrific season against lefties, but just 1 for 22 to start this year. Logan fell behind him 2-0. He's worked him back to 2-2 by throwing a couple of sliders out of the zone. And he gets the fastball in, strike 3 call. Well, due to swinging it, the sliders out of the zone, takes a fastball in the zone. Mets failed to score in the 7th. Still 7-4 Colorado. Colorado tonight. It's a chilly night in the Rockies, but the Colorado bats were hot early against Logan Barrett. They got the benefit of a bad umpire's call to tack on 4 more runs. Great defense as well by Colorado. Mets trying to get back in it. They were down 7-1, but they've now pulled within 7-4 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. And Addison Reed is on to pitch for New York.
You know, this has been a long trip when a reliever comes in and he hasn't pitched for 6 days. Hadn't pitched since San Diego.
Well, he's well rested. Carlos Gonzalez fouls off the first pitch that Reed throws. Dargo, the only Rocky who has not reached base tonight among their position players. He has had a very rough stretch. Dropped to 5th in the order tonight, and that hasn't helped. It's not yet. 0 for 3 in this game, 0 for 7 in the series. And Reed throws a slider at his feet. 1-1.
You're just shocked when this young man doesn't produce line drives all over the yard.
Mark Reynolds on deck, then DJ LeMahieu in the home 7th. Chopper and Cabrera right there behind the bag to throw out Gonzalez, 1 away. The danger there was the ball hitting second base.
Hitting second base, and also the big hop. If you noticed, Cabrera did his crow hop before he caught the ball. So as soon as he caught the ball was well on its way. He just great footwork, great hands, got it all. Watch this. Do you crow hop as you're catching the ball, so you never have to step into it. That's a high art form right there.
Reynolds takes a strike. Reynolds has doubled and walked tonight. He scored 2 runs.
Just got quick pitched. The entire the legacy of LaTroy Hawkins for the Mets might live on forever.
Addison wasn't even here when LaTroy was a Met.
But it stays. It remains.
Passed down from generation to generation. And he strikes out Reynolds on 3 pitches for the second out. Well, Mets bullpen has been outstanding tonight. DJ LeMahieu coming up. He has had a good night at the plate and in the field.
It's interesting. He uses a little bigger glove at second base, but it won't matter because he just has such great hands. Flips it there for a crucial double play early in this game. And he's had 1 hoppers. I'm talking about balls hit right on the nose that he's made look easy.
And in addition to all that, he's reached base 3 times in a row, 2 hit singles and a walk. Driven in 2, scored 1. So it's been a full night for DJ LeMahieu. And Reed picks off the outside corner, 1-1.
He's got 4 hits in this series too, right?
4 for 6.
Good story.
Slider misses, 2-1. Logan Verrett went 2 2/3, allowed 7 runs, 10 hits, but the bullpen has been outstanding. Ansel Robles, Sean Gilmartin, Jim Henderson, and now Addison Reed, combining for 4 scoreless innings of relief, with only 1 hit against the group, and that was an infield hit by LeMahieu in the 5th. The Land Rover Rockies box score. Walters had that big hit, the 2-run double, after he should have been out on strikes, and then Blackman followed with a 2-run single, and that's the difference in the game.
Yeah, 4 hitters with 2 hits.
Rockies scored 5 runs in the 3rd, 4 of them after that blown call by the home plate umpire Carlos Torres, who in the ensuing argument threw Terry Collins out of the game. Off the fist, a ground ball for Walker to handle. And another 1-2-3 inning for the Mets bullpen, this time Addison Reed. On to the 8th we go in Denver with the Mets down by 3. Just outside downtown Denver. I don't think I'd want to go on a Ferris wheel that was turning that fast. I'm just saying. I get a little nauseous.
I've lost my nerve. I don't know what age it happened, but when my kids were little, I was able to do all the rides they did, and then they got me on that drop zone. You ever do that one?
No.
It just drops from like 250 feet.
I would never have gone that.
Oh, I lost my nerve. I'm done.
See, I get a little nauseous on the roller coasters now, which is a shame because I loved them when I was a little younger. Carlos Estevez, who was very impressive last night in the pitch for the Rockies.
Yeah, he gave up a hit, struck out 2, and was throwing consistently 98, 99 miles per hour.
But coming to face Neil Walker is 3 for 3 tonight, 2 singles and a home run, his 10th of the year. Walker, Cabrera, and Plawecki for the Mets in the 8th. Mets were down 7-1. They got 2 in the They got 1 in the 4th on Walker's home run and 2 in the 6th to get closer, while their bullpen has held the Rockies off. But the Mets wasted a leadoff double from Wright in the 7th, and now trying to start things back up in the 8th. Mets are 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position tonight. Antonio Bastardo up in the bullpen.
Well, 9 in April, and now here in May his first one. Hanging slider from Eddie Butler. Get the measurement on that one. That was a long home run.
They're all long here. 1-2 to Walker. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by NYU Langone Medical Center, made for New York. One-two from Estevez, and he strikes out Walker with a high fastball for the first out. First time Walker's been retired tonight.
This young man's got a future. You know, just watching him, there's a lot of moving parts, so I will see how his control fares over the course of the season. But lots of movement and lots of speed.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Cabrera, who's had a rough night, 0 for 3. Twice came up in first and third situations, popped up and grounded into a double play in those spots. And he fouls one off the mask of Walters and back, and it's 0-1.
It's cold for the players too. Every single player blowing in their hands.
Got the heater going in the dugout.
They don't have it in the batter's box. That's where they need it.
Cabrera gets jammed and pops one up. Arenado waiting for it, and there are 2 out. So Estevez has retired the first 2, and now he'll face Kevin Plawecki, who's been on base twice tonight. An infield hit that drove in a run and a walk. He's 1 for 2. It's been a good road trip for Kevin. 5 extra base hits on the trip at a time when the rest of the offense is struggling.
Little fella's still rooting.
You think that kid would lend me his hood?
Look, what are you going to attach it to?
I don't care.
Your IFB?
Whatever works.
Yeah, I'd have to say I put a lot of my faith in you to give me the weather reports in certain towns. I would have to say this is one of the rare times you came up a little short.
Well, let me tell you, when we left for Los Angeles, the long-range forecast for this weekend in Denver said it was going to be 78 degrees every day.
Like it was going to be warmer here than San Diego and LA.
Exactly. Okay. It hasn't gotten to 60. But that's the nature of Denver weather. You know, they say they have 4 seasons here, and you can often experience them all in one day. I mean, it could snow tomorrow. You never know. Because you weren't here 3 years ago when Keith and I went through that snow series where they had the shovel brigade out there.
I do have to say, usually I laugh with you guys. I was laughing at you at that time.
Thanks very much.
I'm sorry about that, but
that doubleheader when they had the snow, the coldest day I've ever spent in a ballpark. Plawecki takes a rip. Good slider by Estevez, and it's 2-2.
You know, he's such a big athlete, Estevez, that if he, I mean, he could develop, if he develops a slider, into a Dylan Betances kind of reliever.
Eric Campbell on deck. He'll pinch hit if Plawecki can keep the inning going.
Talking about Dylan Betances, did you see what no-run DMC did tonight for the Yankees?
Well, it's the first game where Betances, Miller, and Chapman have all pitched in the same game. 3 1/3 innings, 8 strikeouts. I mean, if their starters can do anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ivan Nova did exactly what he needed to do today. get them to those guys. And Plawecki overmatched on that last fastball by Estevez. 2 strikeouts for Estevez, a 1-2-3 inning, 7-4 Rockies in the 8th. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda. Nationals won the day game from the Marlins 6-4. Strasburg now 6-0. Jake Arrieta now 7-0 with a 1.29 after his win for the Cubs over the Pirates. Phillies another 1-run win behind Aaron Nola, their 14th 1-run win. Marlins took the nightcap from the Nats, and there are the late scorers. Padres, Brewers tied that up with 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th. The Giants and Diamondbacks also tied. Jake Peavy pitched a little better tonight. And the Dodgers up on the Cardinals. Rene Rivera will catch in the bottom of the 8th. He'll bat 9th. And the new pitcher Antonio Bastardo will hit 8th.
Bastardo's had a little bit of rest also. Last time he pitched May 10th against the Dodgers.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
Yes.
Earlier on this road trip, remember he pitched 3 straight days. That fantastic job Sunday in San Diego.
And get out of the bases loaded, no out jam.
And then struggled a bit Monday and Tuesday against LA. Dick Scott managing the team. Terry Collins was ejected in the 3rd inning. Interesting double switch there. We'll talk about this in a second. Tony Walters will lead off in the bottom of the 8th. Walters a big day. A single, a double, 2 RBIs, and he tries to bunt his way on 0-1. You double switch here so that Bastardo, if there's a bottom of the 9th, can pitch the bottom of the 9th. But the only way there's a bottom of the 9th is if the Mets score at least 3 runs in the top of the 9th.
That's right.
And if you score more than 3 runs in the top of the 9th, you're going to bring in Familia for the bottom of the 9th.
So your only protection really is for the tie game. So I think what it's telling me is that they're real thin out there since they've used Gil Martin, Robles, Henderson, and Reed, that Bastardo is going to have to be your 2-inning pitcher just in case you were to tie the ball game. So it's a move you didn't have to make. You certainly didn't have to make, but they decided to.
I mean, there's no rule that you couldn't bring in Familia to pitch the bottom of the 9th anyway in a tie game. But the danger there is now you run out of pitching. All you have left is Blevins after that, who's, you know, at most a 1-inning guy. And after that, you'd have to go to a starting pitcher or a position player. But that's all getting ahead of yourself. It all requires the Mets scoring at least 3 runs in the 9th inning.
And holding the Rockies here in the bottom of the 8th.
Jake McGee, the Rockies closer, who got a save last night, is up again.
Walters has had his best game as a Rocky, hasn't he?
Well, he had the big double after the controversial call in the 3rd got Terry Collins ejected. And Walters shoots 1 foul. Ryan Rayburn is out on deck to pinch hit for Colorado. It's the best way to start your weekday. Join Suki Scott and the Pix 11 News team with breaking news as it happens. Caitlin Monty has up-to-the-minute traffic, and Linda Church with the forecast. 5 to 9 on the Pix 11 Morning News, where every story hits home. That's 4 runs and 12 hits. The Rockies 7 runs and 11 hits. We're in the bottom of the 8th. And Walters foul tips one and stays alive in the at bat. Coming up after we're done here on Pix 11, it's the Pix 11 News with Corey Chambers over on SNY. It's WDB Mason post game live. Final game of the series tomorrow on SNY. It's a 2 o'clock local time start, 4 o'clock Eastern time start tomorrow.
Terry 11 o'clock presser.
I can't vouch for that. Jake McKee up in the bullpen.
You're my eyes and ears, Gary. Come on.
I'm waiting for the memo.
We're late in that list of emails, I tell you that.
The second tier. Well, sometime in the wee hours of Monday morning, the Mets plane will land, and it will feel like many, many moons since we last saw New York. 1-2 coming. And a bouncing ball. Walker to his left. Runs it down and throws out Walters, one away. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Ryan Rayburn is going to pinch hit for Colorado in his first appearance in the series.
You know, Ryan Rayburn might not be known to the occasional fan, but a nice pickup for the team. Really good offensive player. Always has been. And the guy can come off the bench also.
See, he's off to a fine start for the Rockies. Now 35 years old. First came up with the Tigers, played for the Indians for 3 years.
Tigers, he played not only the infield but also the outfield.
Oh, he's played everywhere in his career. And Rayburn smokes one to center. Cespedes will have to play it on a hop. So a 1 out hit for Ryan Rayburn as a pinch hitter after the Mets bullpen had retired 10 in a row. Play of the game brought to you by JetBlue, and it's the third strike that wasn't. Looked like a third strike. The home plate umpire Carlos Torres called it a foul ball. Terry Collins got ejected, and given a second chance, Tony Walters delivered a 2-run double against Logan Verrett that changed the entire course of this game.
That's a first for us, huh? Play of the game being a strikeout. That wasn't, but it did turn the whole tide. You had an 8th place hitter that you struck out. You had the pitcher coming up next. You still had a close game.
And then 2 batters later, Blackman hit a 2-run single to make it 7-1 Colorado, and try as the Mets might, they've yet to catch up. Blackman 1 for 3 and a walk tonight, and a nice stop by Rivera. So each team now with a dozen hits in this game, but only 2 of them against the Mets bullpen in 4 2/3 innings. So the pen has been stretched thin tonight, but they certainly have responded. Robles for a third, Gilmartin for 2, Henderson and Reed each for 1, and now Bastardo working the 8th.
These are the games you have to give a lot of credit to the bullpen. You know, they sit out there in this cold weather, and they're asked to get warm and come in here and throw. It's not easy.
Good high fastball by Bastardo, 2-1. Well, it also puts a lot of pressure on Jacob deGrom tomorrow.
Yes.
He'll need to go at least 7 and preferably 8 and hand the ball straight to Familia if he can. Not only that, but unless the Mets rally in the 9th, they'll be trying to avoid a sweep.
You'd like to get a W before you go face the Nationals.
Blackman asks for time. Rayburn at first and 1 out. And again, Blackman, tired of waiting for Bastardo, asks for time.
So you're talking about the 1-run win for the Phillies. It ended when Cameron Rupp hung onto the ball in a game-ending collision at home plate for the final out. That's how it ended.
Popped up. David Wright waiting for it to come down. And that's the second out. Kids, that's not the recommended way to catch a bomb. but he's done that way for years.
Yeah, it's just that side saddle way of catching it is the way he's more comfortable doing it. And I don't know. I've been here, what, 11 years? He almost dropped that one, by the way.
He's dropped one that I remember.
Yeah, I'm thinking, one at the most. That one hit on the outside of the glove, though.
So 2 out. Rayburn still at first. Now Trevor Story, who's 2 for 4 tonight, a single and a double. He scored a run. Looking ahead to the 9th inning, the Mets will have 9, 1, and 2 in the batting order. Rivera, Granderson, and Wright due up. And if anybody gets on, Conforto, and then Cespedes. So
yeah,
Mets still have a chance, given where we're playing, even though it's windy and not particularly advantageous to the hitters from a comfort standpoint. It's still Coors Field, and big rallies happen.
You know what's interesting to me is that we saw last night Jake McGee was a closer, but the right-hander is up for the Rockies in the bullpen tonight.
Way inside, and that hits Story. So Story on base for the 3rd time tonight. Clipped by the pitch.
Right on the protective guard on his elbow.
So 2 out and 2 on, and now Nolan Arenado. He's 1 for 4 tonight. Rayburn at second, Story at first with 2 down. Arenado 0 for 2 in his career against Bastardo. And he grounds one down to right. He'll take it to the bag. Just got there in time for the force play. That retires the side. A hit and 2 left. We go to the 9th in Colorado with the Mets down 7-4. Our next picks telecast will be next weekend when the Mets host the Brewers at 4 o'clock. Mets and Brewers next Saturday, 4 o'clock, right here on Pix 11.
I traded away that game with Keith. Keith is going to be with you for that picks game on Saturday.
Just the one?
Just the one. Just the one.
So you're doing Friday and Sunday?
I'm doing Friday and Sunday, yeah.
Oh, that's going to trip him up. Mess up his whole Saturday night.
That's right.
Jake McGee on to try and save it for the second straight day.
Well, we saw him last night, and when I used to watch him pitch in Tampa Bay, he was a guy that really just threw all fastballs 95 plus. He's not throwing as hard, or wasn't throwing as hard in last night's game, and using a couple of curveballs. So it'll be interesting to see what he does tonight with this. Well, 7-4 lead is a good lead. It seems skinnier here in Colorado.
Rene Rivera, who came in the double switch the last half inning, will lead off for the Mets in the top of the ninth. Rene 1 for 11 since joining the Mets. The one hit a home run. Curtis Granderson on deck, then David Wright as the Mets try and fight the rest of the way back. They've made it 7-4 after trailing 7-1. And Rivera punches one down the right field line, slicing away, foul. Mets have only one player left in the dugout, and that's Eric Campbell. It's only a 4-man bench these days. Mets went to an extra man in the bullpen when Steven Matz was unavailable. They put Wilmer Flores on the DL and brought up Sean Gilmartin, so leaves the bench a little quieter than it normally is. Three infielders on the left side for Rivera. They even shift against the backup catcher. 0-2 to Rene. Mets in danger of their third straight loss. And if they drop this game, they fall into third place in the National League East, behind the shocking Phillies. Punched the other way by Rivera, falling fast, base hit. So Rivera takes one the other way, and he's aboard to start the top of the ninth.
Boy, that gives you a start right there. Jammed, fights it off. I thought for a second that Carlos Gonzalez had a chance to try to make this play, but played a little more conservative.
Rocco doesn't do much diving these days. No. So the Mets get the leadoff man on. They need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate. 13 hits on the night now for the Mets. Curtis Granderson's 0 for 4. Last two times up, he's hit hard grounders to LeMahieu that have taken tough hops that LeMahieu has been able to make the play on. And the curveball from McGee in for a strike. Granderson just 1 for 10 in his career against Jake McGee. David Wright waiting to hit next. And Curtis takes a fastball low and in. 1-1. McGee trying to save it for Eddie Butler, who went the first 5 innings plus, allowed 4 runs and 9 hits. Gonzalez Herman went an inning and 2/3, somehow didn't give up a run. I don't know how that's possible. That's it, bullet after bullet against him. Boone Logan got 1 batter. Carlos Estevez pitched the 8th. Now Granderson grounds 1 to LeMahieu, could be 2. Story with the turn, not in time. Granderson just beat it.
It looked like it took a while for Story to get rid of this baseball. Need to look at it again. Wonder if LeMahieu put a little too much air underneath this ball. Got to give a little sharper. No, that's good. Yeah, he had to really, he gathered himself before letting it go. Not as much case of urgency as there should have been. And a good call there by the first base umpire, Corey Blazer.
So 1 out and 1 on. And now David Wright, who has a single and a double his last 2 at bats after an 0 for 16 stretch.
You know what that was? That was Story making sure he kept his foot on second base. You know how shortstops used to fly across the bag, make the throw? You can't do that anymore.
Well, I think also, like the last double play they turned, he's coming from such an awkward angle. Yeah. It's hard to come across the bag as aggressively.
You're right, but it looked awkward to me, and I was wondering why. That's why it's awkward, is that you want to make sure that you touch the bag. So he gets a toss, and he wanted to use his arm to make up for the play, and Granderson too quick.
0-1 to right with Granderson at first and 1 out. Ball and a strike to David. Here's that play at first again.
Well, we spend so much time on the replays that we forget how good these umpires, if they're allowed to, can be. Corey Blazer with a good call. So close. Ball just not in the webbing of the glove with Granderson's foot on the base.
Rockies had already used their challenge, so even had it gone the other way, Walt Weiss had no recourse. 1-1 to right. And David takes a fastball strike, 1-2.
I know David's not liking that call of the pitch by Carlos Torres, the home plate umpire, but that's a good pitch, the fastball in. He's catching more plate than he thinks.
Michael Conforto on deck. One out, one on, top of the ninth. And David has to move his feet. 95 from McGee that time, 2-2.
McGee's throwing a little harder tonight.
Now it's 2-2. And the curveball up and away. And that works the count full. Now if Wright can get on, Conforto would come up as the tying run. And he got Cespedes behind him. Granderson at first and 1 out, 3-2 coming. And Wright goes down on the fastball, 2 men down. Second time David's been struck out tonight.
Well, 3-2 counts, you know the fastball's coming, and just a good enough spot by McGee.
So now the Mets are down to their final out. Conforto coming up, trying to get on base for Cespedes. Michael's 1 for 4 tonight. Facing the left-hander here with 2 out in the ninth.
Started off Granderson with a curveball.
And the same to Conforto, and he doesn't get the strike. 1-0. Jake McGee picked up his 10th save in 12 tries last night. Granderson runs. Conforto grounds it right at LeMahieu, and the ball game is over. The Mets have dropped their 3rd in a row. Logan Verrett took it on the chin tonight. Terry Collins got ejected on a bad call. Rockies took full advantage of it, and they've taken the first 2 games of this series. Colorado winning tonight 7-4.
Well, Logan Verrett didn't have it, giving up 7 runs. The bullpen was outstanding after that, but really the play of the day was the Tony Walters strikeout that was called a tipped pitch by the home plate umpire Carlos Torres. Terry Collins got thrown out. Shouldn't have been, because it was a bad call by Carlos Torres. And after that, the onslaught happened for the Rockies.
Rockies scored 4 runs in that 3rd inning after the bad call, and that proved to be more than enough for the Rockies. They built a 7-1 lead, and they hang on to beat the Mets 7-4. Mets drop their 3rd straight and fall into 3rd place behind the Nats and the Phillies in the National League East. 7-4 the final. Rockies win it. We'll come back with more from Denver in just a moment.